go ahead and give some love to our sponsors, lanerunner.com, new rate platform out there. We had them on the show last night, answered a bunch of questions. Right now, if you go to their website and use first month free, you'll obviously get a first month free, and we at the Logistics Lounge will get a little bit of love.
Welcome to the future of trucking with Lane Runner. Up to the minute, trustworthy spot market freight rates. Experience real-time, full truckload spot market rates at your fingertips. Stay ahead with our advanced rate alert system, ensuring you never miss a market move. Gain insights with our detailed high and low paying lane reports. Make informed decisions with comprehensive market reports tailored for your business needs. Lane Runner, accurate, real-time spot market freight rates at your fingertips. Efficiency, reliability, and profitability all in one platform. Join Lane Runner today and take your logistics to the next level. Spot market, spot on.
You know, I'll tell you what, bro. Where else you're going to get some love is in your pocketbook when you take all those invoices and you factor with SureLineCapital.com. When you go, you register. Use code LOUNGE365. You'll get your first invoice up to $2,500 factored for free. All right. We are ready to do this damn thing today. Going to start off our usual, ask about everybody about their day. We'll start down at the bottom. Mr. Attorney, how was your day, good sir?
You know, it's a great day when it's 50 degrees in Chicago. The sun is out. The grass is green. Things are looking fantastic. One day closer to Monday. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. You're the only person in the world says it. Well, except my wife, because she's off on Mondays.
I will be in Las Vegas Monday through Wednesday for Manifest. So I have never attended it. I'm very excited to see what it's all about. I have a lot of things to do. So we'll see how that goes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Mr. Badass, how's your day been, brother?
Hold on, watch this. Well, it was a beautiful 50 degrees down here in Florida, so the birds were out, the grass was green, and we were loving life here. So yeah, the day was good. We actually were on a couple different podcasts today, including this last minute invite, and I am looking forward to the weekend though. Even though every day is sort of a work life day for me, Saturdays are still my favorite.
Hell yeah, me too. Me too. I'm with you on that, bro. I am. Double broker, bounty hunter, man, out there kicking ass and taking MCs. How's your week been, John?
It's not been too bad. Got about 2,700 in additional revenue for some clients of mine, busting 4 different double brokers. So starting my year off with a bang. Wasn't as good as last year, though. My last year's total was 322, recovering over 90,000 in additional revenue. So not as good starting off, but hey, you can't win them all. But here in sunny Pensacola, Florida, we're enjoying the 70s today. So yes, the grass is green, the weeds are growing. And the bay is looking rather calm from my house, so going to be looking forward to hopefully a very early spring.
That's awesome, brother. Well, I'll continue with the weather since we're giving a national weather first time here in the lounge. Here in Central Texas, it has been a dreary day, rain off and on. Forecast looks to be cleared up tomorrow with sunny skies. And it's
Jim Cantori a run for his money.
Yeah, dude. Hey, before we move on, my favorite weather guy, and if y'all don't follow this guy, you have to. Dang it, his name escapes me. I'll find out and send it to you. But he's a weatherman down in Houston, and people send him music like songs, and he implements those lyrics into his weather report, dude. And Dude's so sick. He's done like Rage Against the Machine. He's done Eminem. Like it's every day he does it. It's freaking hilarious. Hunter, how was your day, bro? Cephas?
It's a fine, mostly cloudy 38 degrees here in Nashville, Tennessee. The trees are nice and shaded up. The ducks are quacking. The water's flowing. So no complaints here on my side of the world.
I haven't asked you in a while. How is your duck farm?
It's going good, man. They're out there quacking. We got a few mallards, they're growing up right in front of my eyes, but they are year round. And for anybody watching, if you don't know, I live where my apartment is. I have a pond right behind me, and the dog park's right there. It's, just scenery, nature. But I got about 12 ducks that hang out back there. I feed them bread and granola and whatever else they like, and they come quacking around, and it's a good time.
Just don't call Tony Soprano when spring comes.
Say what?
I said, just don't go up Tony Soprano when spring comes.
Oh no, man! I was worried about that because I moved in here in September, and I was like, "Oh, it's getting cold."
I'm like, man, I hope somebody got that, or
I did. I don't
know if I can handle that.
Dude, that's how the series starts off, is with the dang ducks, bro. Yeah. The ducks. That was cool, man. I got that 100%. All right. Y'all see everybody we got on. Chris, dude, how does that go again, Hunter? He's talking about the quacking. All right. Hunter, I think you're going to pretty much take the lead for the next little minute, aren't you?
Yep, we switched it up. So in finer news outside of Ryder, Mr. Punxsutawney Phil, the American icon, the fluffy fighter of bad weather, has predicted an early spring this year, folks. So if you haven't been up to good Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, go up there and say hello. Give them a good thank you. But outside of that, in breaking news today, Ryder has officially acquired Cardinal Logistics. Sure, everybody knows who Ryder is, leading transportation and logistics company. They announced today that they will be buying out Cardinal Logistics, a contract carriage and last mile delivery provider. Ryder had paid $475 million in cash for Cardinal, which generated about $600 million in revenue and $65 million in 2023. Some of the benefits to this, the expansion or the acquisition will expand Ryder's dedicated transportation solutions, e-commerce fulfillments, and increase their customer base and geographic footprint. Their plans from here on out is to integrate Cardinal's operations, technology, and management team into its dedicated solutions and business unit, which will be led by Steve Sensing, president of Global Supply Chain Solutions. And for the outlook here, Ryder expects the acquisition to be accretive to its earnings in 2024 and beyond, as the demand for dedicated and last mile services continues to grow in post-pandemic economy. So, Mr. Leffler, I'm sure you have a plethora of knowledge on this.
This is fascinating. You got to think about Ryder as one of these juggernauts in our industry, and they are the frenemy of every large motor carrier. They provide resources when it comes to trucks and trailers. They provide warehousing. We saw Penske a couple of years ago buy Black Horse, right? So like this idea of these companies coming in and grabbing these dedicated providers, because at the end of the day, if you want to win dedicated, you have to have assets. And instead of just going out there and buying a bunch of trucks, buy a company. Right now, everybody is struggling. The numbers are not looking great for most of the big motor carriers out there. So this is a time to get really good deals. And there's no doubt in my mind, we're going to continue to watch more and more consolidation in this space. I love the move. It makes a ton of sense for Ryder. It's interesting to see how it all unfolds, but we're going to see more things like this. But man, Ryder it's a juggernaut. They do all the things.
Yeah, they're getting huge. It said they acquired 15 operations across Florida, Georgia, Illinois, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, Utah, and California. So they're stretching themselves out, but they got the bulk.
You get your trucks, you get some trailers, you get some drivers, you get some mechanics, presumably, you get some dedicated lanes. It's a great opportunity for someone like Ryder, and we'll probably see Penske do something similar. I mean, there's going to be a lot of activity over the next couple months.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was going to go to work for Cardinal as a driver one time, man. They I heard a lot of good things about them for being a driver, dude, and they pay really freaking good too, man. But I ended up just getting a better deal from another company. So Ryder, I don't know too much about them. So hopefully it won't be one of those situations where the company that acquires the company we know is good, and then it
Ryder prints money. I mean,
T-Force.
Ryder's a manufacturer of used equipment. They buy new stuff. They're one of the largest buyers of Class 8 trucks and Class 7, Class 6, Class 5, everything down the line. They are absolutely massive. And they came, just like Penske, that both those organizations came out of National Lease, which was a long time ago. But it's wild to watch this. I mean, you think about like Penske and Ryder, you think about those two businesses. Penske owns the largest Freightliner dealership in the country, Premier Truck Group. That's owned by Penske. So these companies own so many things, and it's just going to continue to happen.
They do. You know, a lot of people just think about Ryder and Penske, but it's just being service centers and leasing trucks and stuff. But I mean, dude, they run logistics operations. They do brokering. Right. Like they do a ton of stuff. So. Yeah,
dude, they got huge contracts. Just like Matt was saying, man, back in my earlier days at the LQT, dude, we had major Penske accounts, Ryder accounts, and some of like the companies that those accounts were handling and what we were handling. Dude, insanity. Like
it's a different scale. I mean, there's very few companies on the planet that can do what they do. I mean, Penske and Ryder are like FedEx and UPS in a, not like in terms of structural size, but just like how important they are in our industry. And they have tentacles, as you guys have mentioned, into everything from brokerage, dedicated warehousing, supply chain, software. I mean, they're in everything.
Yeah, I dealt with them when I was a logistics operations manager in near the DFW airport. We rented some of our sleeper trucks from them. And I enjoyed doing business, at least with the place, you know, the location we were at. But I'll say they were sticklers about like maintenance schedules.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Dude, like I'll say, man, like if I was going to buy a used truck, I would say Ryder would probably be first place I'd start looking, because I mean they would come if we didn't bring it to them within like 7 days of the due date. They would come, tow it, and then bill us for the towing.
Like another acquisition Ryder made a year or two ago was a company called Baton, and Baton was an autonomous truck parking facility, kind of like this hybrid where human beings can meet with robots. And the newest terminal that Kodiak announced is actually in a Ryder facility. So you see these guys, they're chasing the same four things: this idea of autonomous, connected, electric, and shared. How can they follow those global trends and make themselves able to survive the next 100 years? Because these companies think in terms of decades, and they do really interesting things.
I'm telling you, it is the acquisitions and mergers and layoffs, and man, I'm telling you, I have a feeling, and I'm kind of 60-40 on this, that we may see another 2023 level, if not more. You know, with the layoffs and the mergers and stuff. Like, I mean,
we saw UPS lay off 12,000 people, and that 12,000, there's very, very, very serious talks about removing Coyote as a wholly owned subsidiary of UPS.
I saw that. I just posted an article of a distribution center here that deals with beverages. They got bought out by Glazers. I don't know how big Glazers is, but down here. Oh, okay. So, but they purchased them only like 2 years ago, and now they're shutting down this facility, 160 people without jobs. Now, I will give them this. At least they've told everyone in advance. I think in the article, like they're shutting down in a few months. So I'll give them that much. Unlike other companies, at least they said, hey, here's what's coming. So, you know, I mean, boom, you know,
this industry's always been feast or famine. There's times where it's got a lot of activity, times where it's very slow. The next two quarters, 6 months or so, it is going to be a very, very tough time in this business. You're going to see a lot of really interesting companies go under, more mergers, a lot of spinoffs, and a ton of layoffs. Hopefully, when you get rid of enough capacity, there might be that rebound that happens, maybe a soft landing, but it is not going to be a pretty picture for the next few months.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. Jeff, man, hey, I love how Jeff shaved off his mustache and he's coming over to the sexy beard side, man. I'm digging it, bro.
Hey, listen, I just came on the podcast to chew out the armchair attorney.
Why is that? Because you're so respectful of me? How are you, Bodacious Cowboy?
I am doing lovely, my friend. How about you?
I'm living La Vida Loca. That's the only way I can. That's what the kids tell me to say. I want to be hip. I'm 39 now. I turned 39 on Monday, so I have to be hip with the kids.
Yeah, I'll give you a few years, man. We'll talk when you get to be my age.
I have 4 children. I have a lot to talk about.
Yes, dude. You have beautiful kids, man. Like your twins are. I mean, all your kids are adorable, but I love the pictures of your twins, man. They're so cute together, dude.
I was put on this earth to be a father. Like I was put on this earth to be a dad. And every day I thank the Lord for blessing me with so many wonderful things. But this is my true passion, is being a dad. And I do these podcast things because my kids want to do that stuff. I'm like, well, let me learn if I can do it. And maybe someday when you're older, you can. So
I heard you and Dooner talking about that, man. How you like get them set up and like help them.
Dude.
Walk through. That's neat, man.
I have my middle son. He's Rowan. He's helped me load the audio only of my podcast into Buzzsprout to make the podcast go distributed. So you got to get them learning. That's
smart, man. You know, the child's mind, dude. I was probably better at computers when I was a kid than I am now.
Is he available this weekend for some consultation?
I'm going to commercialize him. Like he's 8 now, but there's a path for him. He's going to take care of dad. He's going to take care of me somehow.
You just need to hire him and pay him a little paycheck so you get some tax breaks, man.
He just wants V-Bucks. He just wants to get those cool skins in Fortnite.
Oh,
there you go.
Sweet. Well,
why is Jeff mad at me? Why are you mad at me? What did I do?
I'm not mad.
Jeff, I want to know how come the last 2 times you
were
come
in
on
a
the show
situation and I wanted to come on.
I hate flying. Okay, let me just be very clear. I am terrified of flying. I find no joy in being in a giant tube, 500 miles an hour, 30,000 feet in the air. And what Jeff is mentioning is when I was flying, there was gum on the seatbelt, like in the mechanism. And I look at it and I take my wipe, alcohol wipe, try to clean it off. It doesn't clean off. It was awful. It was and we had a nice exchange of puns, which I love.
He loves kids. He loves kids.
No.
Sweet. Well,
lawyer question. Why are lawyers so cool? I don't know. It's just a proven fact.
I don't know, man. My bank account usually goes down every time I freaking make a phone call.
I got the paperwork.
They're not cool.
Paperwork. I am who I purport to be.
See what you get when you go online for $20.
Sweet. Jeff, how come every time you come on, you're just showing that shirt? You never wear it. You're not repping it, man?
It's too small, man. I can't get it on.
Dude, I love that shirt though.
It's for sale. Right price.
I'll start the bidding at $1.
Oh, hey Chris, go back and watch it on my personal page, bro, so I can see that did it you, man. But anyway, whenever you get a chance, shoot Chris, but it needs to be logistics related. No, don't be asking Matt how to get out of your fucking prenup. Okay.
I will always say this. Okay. And anything I say is not intended to be legal advice. Don't take legal advice from a podcast or a video. If you think you need a lawyer, you probably need a lawyer, and I'm not your lawyer. That's a very important disclaimer that I say whenever I talk about legal topics.
No. All right, there you go. There you go.
Incident happens and a patrol officer automatically writes ticket for failure to maintain lane. Doesn't seem to matter what state.
That seems more like a driving.
Is that a legal question?
Yeah,
you got a ticket? Yeah, call a lawyer and get out of the ticket.
It's more like a driving question.
Yeah. Obey the laws and then don't get ticketed. Don't consent to a search. That's the thing I would also recommend.
If you were giving legal advice, but you're not.
All right, guys. We got to get this on track. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, without further ado, Mr. Matt Leffler, the armchair attorney. And today's show is also sponsored by Medium Sized Dogs.
That's spectacular.
That was
medium-sized dogs. Ask for them by name. Today's broadcast is brought to you by medium-sized dogs. If you have a problem that looks like it needs a medium-sized dog, trust the name brand, medium-sized dogs. Ask for them by name. Not available in California. It's very important you understand this.
Dude,
Listen,
the
people,
AB5.
I understand what you want. You want to talk about dogs. I want to talk about dogs. Small dogs, get rid of them. Big dogs, no dice, not enter that. I want to talk about medium-sized dogs. You got a mini Australian Shepherd? Great. Is it a full Australian Shepherd? Not my style. What are you talking about? Pomeranian? Move on. I want to talk
Wait
to you
a
about
second,
one
man.
thing. Medium-sized dogs. 20 pounds and above. 40 pounds or less. If it's above that, move on. If it's smaller,
Come on, man.
medium
Let's
dogs.
let's
There's
talk
no
about
other
top dogs.
compromise.
Let's talk about top dogs. That's why I'm here.
You don't need to focus
Yeah,
on it. I
yeah.
love it. As long as I'm
Speaking of
here,
top
there's my
dogs.
fish tank. Look, I will talk about medium-sized dogs till the cows come home, and they actually may later tonight because my mini Australian Shepherd is 21 pounds. That's a medium-sized dog. You
Ooh,
can bet
that's whoa.
That's textbook medium-sized dog right there.
I hope my wife is watching. Holly, I hope you're watching this because this is all about our little dog, Liberty Bell, 3 years old, mini Australian Shepherd. She's a good
Is
girl.
that your dog's name, really? Liberty Bell?
Yeah, she was born on July 4th, so she is
Oh.
Liberty Bell. We call her
Dude,
Libby
that-
or Bibby or Bibbity.
That's a Liberty Bibby.
So many names. She's upstairs napping
What,
right now.
what are
It's
you,
very
the
important.
spokesman for Liberty Mutual? I mean, what the hell?
When we hear the commercial, we think about her. So that's what I want people to think about is that medium-sized dog.
Got me locked. But well, Matt, thanks for being on the show, brother. It's definitely an honor and a pleasure to have
See you
you.
later.
What? I got a magazine in the mail today. Look at this. The Freight Bandit. Are you ready? I'm enjoying this. See, I want to be part of the culture. I want to participate in these conversations. So I appreciate you having me on the show today. I love supply chain. I love the law, and I love medium-sized dogs.
That's beautiful.
Thanks for sharing
Well,
that. I appreciate it.
For the people who don't know, who is the armchair attorney? Who is Matthew Leffler?
Well,
Great
that's a long story. I'm a third generation transportation guy, so I'm going to go in the way back machine. After my grandfather got out of World War II, he was a tank commander. He started his own trucking company in Central Illinois. Unfortunately, he got about 6 trucks, but unfortunately, he ended up getting polio. Went to the hospital for 6 months, went bankrupt, lost it all, moved on, became a mechanic. My dad was about 8 or 9 years old when he began helping his father fix, equipment, farm equipment and trucks and everything. It was in 1976, after my father graduated from Northern Illinois University, that he began working at Roadway. Now, I love talking about the old days. Roadway, Yellow, CF, those companies moved the earth. And this is before deregulation. So my dad worked nights in Chicago Heights for about 15 years. He moved up in Roadway. Eventually went to work for a company called Airborne, which later became DHL, but he was gone way before that. In 1991, he started a company called Outsource Fleet Services because at that time, outsourcing fleet services is what everyone was trying to do. How can I lower the cost of operation? And his first customer was his longest standing customer, a business called RPS, Roadway Package Systems. What was RPS? Well, that became Caliber. That became FedEx Ground. My father's business, and I got to work with him for 6 amazing years, was the largest provider of maintenance for FedEx Ground for over 25 years. We also had customers like Old Dominion and SEVA and Pitt, Ohio and UPS. And I love these companies because I love maintenance. So for myself personally, I went to Michigan State University College of Law, graduated in 2010. Before that, I was University of Illinois. Before that, I had a year at Western Michigan University where I was a Division I track and field runner. I was mediocre in Division I. I was very good as a high schooler. But what I do in this industry is I am an advocate for drivers and maintenance and everything that comes with safety. What I do these days is I have a law firm called Armchair Attorney. I really kind of turn that thing off. It's more of a thing that I use to talk about these type of topics. But I'm in leasing now. So I've been in this industry for 15 years in commercial vehicles. Generally speaking, I love trailers. Oh, I love those 53-foot boxes with swing doors, roll-up doors, whatever you want to call them. I love a 28-foot pop. I love a flatbed. I love a reefer. If I want to talk about chassis, I talk about chassis. But that is who I am. I hope that is a decent summation of what I am and what I believe. Maybe.
That's beautiful, man. That's a lot to unpack.
Does anybody want to cross-examine him?
I cut my teeth in catastrophic truck injuries. Like that's what I did. Like my job was to defend trucking companies in commercial litigation or in civil litigation. Something horrible happened. I know firsthand what it means when you defer maintenance. I know exactly what happens when the worst thing that could possibly happen to a motor carrier happens. And I live and breathe that kind of stuff. So this is the world that I figured I can't escape it. We're all in supply chain. You can't opt out of it.
Can't. Nope.
This like, hey, being in logistics, it's like being in the mafia. There's only one way out. Two
It
ways
used to
out.
be that in mafia too. I mean, that was before
Yeah.
deregulation. Like that's what they were.
Hey, I
You
never
either go
pulled
to
the gun
witness
out on myself.
Yeah, you go to witness protection, or you get put inside a pine box. You know what I mean? Like that's it. That's the
I'm
only way
still
you get out
alive.
of it.
I tried to get out and look at who I'm talking to.
Exactly. Hey Nick, it's funny you say that because doing what you do now, focusing on your motivational stuff, but like I see you on so many logistics people's podcasts.
Speak to who you know.
That's right.
Share one way or another a lot of the same experiences. So, and if nothing else, it's the network you built. Those are your people.
You're right. Claudia, we are good to I love how you changed your name. Claudia the Connector. That's right. That is
Somebody
exactly
I know
what,
told me that's a good thing.
That's coined right here in the lounge. I'm glad you
like
got
it.
that.
It's okay. It's good.
no.
That's okay, Jeff. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, that's right.
You're
That's
stinking
right.
up the joint since you
We're
walked in.
pulling Jeff off the screen. There we go.
Oh no, he's gone.
Oh.
He's back.
Come on, man. She knows
I
I
got
love
bumped
her.
up,
Come
right?
on.
Right.
Yeah, she knows I love her. Come on. Please.
All right. This show is about Matt. Matt, what do you want to talk about, brother? I mean, anything. We could talk about what color that paint is behind you, your fish tank, whatever you want to do, man.
What one thing I always like to talk about is just maintenance generally. So I think we might have talked about this before, but International Road Check is coming up at some point in the not too distant future. We know when that happens, 1 in 5 commercial vehicles will be put out of service because they are unsafe at any speed. And so many motor carriers, whether you're an independent contractor or a decent sized trucking company, one breakdown away and you're bankrupt. This is crazy, man.
That's
like
right.
this, what we live in, what we accept as being okay. Imagine if you're buying milk from me and I have 5 gallons of milk and I say, one of these gallons of milk is dangerously unsafe. And you'd say, well, which one is it? I'd say, I don't know. You got to buy one though. We accept such level of mediocrity. We ought not to do that. And I know there's a lot of things about, different types of regulations we can have, but I just like us to enforce the existing regulations. And maybe DOT can mandate 2 inspections a year. That'd be pretty cool. But yeah, that's the stuff that that gets me going, man. It's trying to understand how we are where we are. And you can't understand where you are unless you know where you came from. And you can't know where you're going unless you know where you are. So you have to know where you came from before you know where you're going. It's crazy, but it's a great business.
Matt, you need to quit every job that you're doing right now. And you need to be like the TV spokesman. Like you need to be the new Billy May. I'm serious. Like, that's what you need to do. Quit everything else and focus on that.
One of my favorite fake advertisements I ever used for a podcast that I did was the Dwarf Planet series. And I'll use what I talked about the Dwarf Planet series. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Dwarf Planet series. Did you know that 25% of the mass of the asteroid belt is actually the Dwarf Planet series? Dwarf Planet series has achieved hydrostatic equilibrium, which means it looks like a ball. So if you're looking for a really good dwarf planet, it's time to get serious with Ceres. It's great. It's beautiful. I love it. It's so good.
How do I purchase that?
I need a blank check sent without.
Would you mind narrating my audiobook for me?
I narrated a book. I narrated a short story that Chris Mayberry put out last night on a post that Timothy Dooner made. It was so much fun.
Written
There's
by,
plugs right here.
read by Matthew Matt Lavler.
I'll read anything. I have a desire to do this. Like this is actually an interesting kind of segue. So, when I was a kid, my dad began traveling when I was about 6 or 7. He'd be gone for like 6 weeks at a time, and I had a speech impediment. I had a significant lisp. And I had a very significant stutter. And I spent years in speech therapy trying to navigate the way of not sounding like somebody you couldn't understand. I also had a thing called vocal nodules. They were bumps on your vocal cords that made you have a raspy voice. So when I was a very little kid, like let's say 1st, 2nd grade, the nickname that I got was Duck Call Boy. And it sticks with me to this day. I was so angry as a kid because my dad was gone and I was by myself, picked on mercilessly. And it took a lot of time to kind of wrestle through that experience. And I love to talk about like how I sound now, because it is hard to overcome a speech impediment. It is so hard to be different. And the message that I try to give as many people as I can is you can overcome it. It doesn't define you. Like whatever these things are that you hold, they don't follow you everywhere, but they do help define who you become. And you can't control what other people do, but you certainly can control to an extent how you react to it. So I really appreciate when people say, oh, I love the way that you sound. And it's like, well, it took a lot of practice.
You are, Matt. Like, I mean, everybody tells you, man. So you know it's true. You just, I don't know, it is. It's just something about the tone of your voice, the flow. Like, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Back to the
needs his own radio station.
He does. I'm serious, man. He does.
Seriously.
Maybe Firecrown will give me a call. Craig, I'm listening. I'm waiting for the phone call.
He could be an
He
announcer.
hates doing that lawyer thing. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Right.
I love talking about maintenance too, Matt, because, and I get it from being a car guy. But that also transferred over to when I was a driver. You know, they call it preventive maintenance for a reason. And I'll use my car as an example. I have a 20-year-old Buick sitting out in my driveway that drives perfectly. I mean, dude, it's got 100,000 miles on it and it rides like a dream, but I keep the maintenance up. And drivers, a lot of carriers, they don't even do the simple pre-trip and post-trip during the day. And all of y'all who talk to carriers or know carriers, you know it's true. Like they don't, and they miss so many things. They put off so much stuff. So Matt, tell us, what do you think about a good maintenance schedule, or is preventive maintenance the most important thing to you as it is to me?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. When you have tough times, the thing that you typically do first is you start delaying and deferring maintenance. That's the first hallmark of how do I stop the bleeding? And I'm going to stop doing the thing that I know I have to do. We do this in our own lives. How many of us can look in the mirror and say, I am taking care of myself. I am making sure my mental health is okay. I'm making sure my physical health is okay. My emotional health. We defer maintenance. And at the end of the day, we become weaker for it. And our assets that we have, our commercial vehicles, we know that driving a truck is one of the, let's say, top 7 most dangerous jobs in the country, And yet millions of people do it every single day. And when you stop taking pre and post trips, seriously, or your dispatchers or your partners that are in the business are not letting you have the time or letting you have the opportunity to do this, we incentivize unsafe practices. And people say, well, how can we stop nuclear verdicts? It is so fucking easy. Do your goddamn job. Just maintain your assets properly, because when you hit somebody or you have a wheel runoff, God forbid you have a wheel runoff and you kill somebody, you can't unring that bell. Maintenance is not about, did I get the oil change in time? It is about an inspection of your 80,000-pound death machine. And we have lowered the bar to be a commercial vehicle operator. In every single state, you can be 19 years old and do intrastate within the state. But to go interstate, you got to be 21. But you understand what I'm getting at. This is a profession. We don't treat it like a profession like we used to. But I am very, very serious that if you want to have a safer supply chain, we have to incentivize safe operational excellence. And if you are a motor carrier and your 20% of your vehicles are unsafe, you ought to lose your ability to operate. Like we should just pull it. And I'm a big believer in having higher insurance rates for motor carriers. $750,000 is baloney. It's too little. That's what they had since 1980. But when OIDA and the ATA both agree that we shouldn't have higher rates, we're not going to get higher rates. So again, like I'm passionate about this because I've been on the other side. Like the worst day for a motor carrier was my everyday. Like I have a 17-year-old girl who gets sideswiped by a truck who didn't use their signal. She hits a telephone pole and breaks her pelvis. Like, what do? How much is that bill? $800,000. I go to the driver. Hey, buddy, we're going to cover the full amount of $750,000 you bought, but that $50,000 is coming out of your pocket. Oh, I thought I had insurance. Yeah, you did. It's gone. Now it's your house and your car and your savings. Like, it's bonkers. It's bonkers.
You know who I wanted to bring in this? Claudia. I know. I mean, you deal with carriers. You work for a carrier, so I mean, like. Yeah. I know the department you're in, but do you have any experience with this? Like how y'all are with the maintenance stuff?
Right. So we don't have, can everybody hear me? Using my headset. Okay. All right, cool. So we don't have, I mean, I haven't experienced like a verdict like that, thank heaven that I haven't. But on our carrier side, and I will say, I mean, we run mostly owner operators on our carrier, and I'm telling you, y- there are days that trying to get a driver to do a pre-trip, it's like, can you send me the paperwork? Can you do a pre-trip? And so we have instituted some things that I think that our insurance company has been nicely proud of us for. We started using a software called Whip Around, and it is, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar, if you're not a carrier and haven't been on that side, but it's essentially it's an app drivers have to have, and it is it's a literal online pre-trip that they have to do every time they start. And we get alerts, so our safety department gets alerts when they don't do those pre-trips. And you know what, those come in handy for claims just in general, right? Like, I think that people and drivers and other folks have this idea that having camera ELDs, event recorders, cameras, and all of this is like trying to punish drivers, because let's face it, like, we all know that carriers often get shafted in things, right? Like, I'm not the one to say that like they are, that they're getting away with all the things. They're not. They oftentimes get held to stuff that's not their fault. And I understand that. I've seen it on both sides. I've been held as a carrier, and I've been like, well, I mean, if you had had the right piece of paper signed, you wouldn't be being held to this. But unfortunately, because you didn't go through that process, now this is where we're sitting. And so I've seen both sides, but those whip arounds, those videos, the having an actual record that you can constantly get to for those pre-trips, that's valuable. I mean, I'm sure Matthew can speak to that.
I know Whip Around well. That's a great product. I mean, we fight for electronic bills of lading, but the electronic DVIRs or electronic inspections, so important, so useful, and it's a great practice every motor carrier should be using.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted to chat with you about, because I'm not going to be able to stay on for a whole long time today, Matthew, is that what I think that some people don't get on the brokerage side, they're like, we're a broker, we can't be held liable. And look, like,
I would love to explain that.
Can you tell him? Can you just tell him?
So this is a really good question, and it's going to take me probably 5 minutes to explain. So I apologize in advance. There's this understanding about brokers and the liability of a motor carrier who behaves badly. What is the responsibility of the broker? What liability do they have? The answer is it depends. So there's a thing called F4A. It's an act of Congress that basically carves out that brokers are responsible for, route, price, and service, and that is all they're responsible for. So in some states or some federal jurisdictions, you get different outcomes. So I'll give the example of C.H. Robinson in a case that was out in California. A driver is hired by Robinson. Robinson was contracted by Costco, and the driver has a catastrophic accident. And they sue the driver, obviously, but the driver has almost no insurance. So they go to Robinson and say, you're big, you're really sophisticated, you should have known that this guy was a chameleon, and you're in trouble. And C.H. Robinson fights this case, and in the district court, in the Ninth Circuit Court of it's like in the Ninth Circuit, but the district court, the lower court, they are found that they could be liable. They appeal that to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the federal circuit in California, Washington, and Oregon. And the Ninth Circuit says, yes, a broker can be held responsible for negligently hiring a motor carrier. And then C.H. Robinson appeals that to the United States Supreme Court. And they say, please, please, please tell them that they're wrong. Tell them that I can't be held liable. And the Supreme Court does not have to hear these cases. You petition, you ask for permission for hearing your case. It's called a petition for certiorari. And the Supreme Court's like, no, go away. And then you have a case called Global Trans v. Yee. That's a case here in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals. Seventh Circuit is like Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, all that. Same set of facts. Motor carrier does something really, really bad. Someone has a catastrophic accident, someone dies, and the decedent's estate, the people who represent the dead person, sue the motor carrier and the broker. They sue Global Trans. Global Trans goes to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, and the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals says, under F4A preemption, brokers cannot be held liable for the negligence of a motor carrier. So that means in that jurisdiction, in that circuit, you cannot be held liable as a broker for negligently hiring a motor carrier. Global Trans did not want that case to go to the Supreme Court because they had just won. But Yee, their team, they petitioned for certiorari and said, Supreme Court of the United States, we now have two circuits that are conflicted. The Ninth Circuit and the Seventh Circuit are looking at the exact same law, the exact same words, and they got a different opinion. They got a different outcome. This can't be right. And the Supreme Court says, I don't care. That's fine. Go away. Let the circuits continue to fight. So there's another case in the 11th Circuit. That's, I think, like Florida area. That was a case where Landstar had a load stolen from somebody with a bunch of electronics in it. And they sued the broker and said, broker, you let this random guy come in and take this load of a bunch of equipment. And in the 11th Circuit, they did the similar thing to the 7th. They said, they're not responsible for this. That's not their job. They're here to provide a price, a route, and a service. So this idea of can a broker be held liable is the answer is it depends. There is no consistency in the United States. It differs based on the city or state that you're in. But it's important to note, and I will say this just real briefly, insurance has two duties. Insurance company has a duty to defend, which is the right of the insurance company to give you an attorney and pay for that attorney to fight on your behalf. And they have a duty to indemnify, which is if you're found responsible, they have to pay money to the person that was injured. Those duties are different, but duty to defend is much, much broader. It's a bigger duty. So there's a lot of brokers out there. And if you're a broker and you're listening to me, let me be very cautious. This is not legal advice for you. You should have insurance. Because even if you might not be found liable, that litigation will cost you without insurance $30,000 to $50,000 a month. And I, as a lawyer, can hurt you deeply. Oh, the things I can do to you. I can subpoena all of your records, all of your communication, any processes that you utilize, any communication systems, text messages, social media, whatever you do. And I'm going to find out the pattern and practice of how you do your job. And if I find one flaw, I'm not going to say it was this truck driver's bad day. I'm going to say it was the pattern and practice of the brokerage who made the mistake of hiring someone they shouldn't have done. All you have to do is look at the Werner case in Texas, where a truck driver who did absolutely nothing illegal was found to be responsible for $90 million. It was appealed to the appellate court in Texas, and that Werner lost there. The interest on that now is over $130 million. And they're at the Texas Supreme Court saying, oh, please don't make us responsible for this driver who crossed the center line, collided with our guy head on, and killed one kid and paralyzed another. This is crazy. This is bet the farm litigation. So I hope that answers your question, Claudia. The answer is it depends.
I just want to say, I would hate to see you on the other side in a courtroom. As long as you're sitting at my table, we're having a good time. But if you're sitting at the other table, I'm running.
When I litigated, I was brutal. But the problem with litigation is you only get to do like one case a year. You don't actually go to trial that often because everybody settles. Werner's challenge in that case, can I tell the story, Pedro, real quickly?
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, of course.
So what happened in the Werner case was a driver. I'm telling from two different stories. One side from the plaintiff, one side from the defendant. This is the defendant's story. This is Werner's story. Our driver was traveling under the posted speed limit. Oh, I love this. Right. Our driver was driving under the posted speed limit. The vehicle he was operating was well maintained. It was in no mechanical defect. Our driver never lost control. Instead, another vehicle from the opposite side of the traffic crossed the center line and hit us head on. We should have absolutely no liability. And you hear me say, that sounds pretty good. That's a good argument. Now, here's what the plaintiff says. This is what the plaintiff says. That driver had been operating that vehicle for only 7 days. Their trainer, who was supposed to monitor them, was asleep in the back. Every other driver on that road on that snowy day was going 20 or 30 miles an hour slower than the Werner driver. And in fact, the dispatcher for Werner said, you get this thing on time. Do not go slow. Move. And if our people who were driving that truck, who lost control, that pickup truck or that little SUV that lost control and crossed the center line, if Werner had been going 5 or 10 miles an hour slower, that child may not be dead today. That other child may not be paralyzed today. But that company, that has a pattern and a practice of saying, Get the freight moved at any cost. I don't care that you've only had 7 days on the job or that you've never driven in snow, let alone been trained in snow. And that is what went to trial. And the jury looked at that case and they said, the driver for the SUV that lost control was responsible, let's say 10, 15%. The driver for Werner, brand new driver, they're responsible 10, 15%. Werner, 70%. They self-insure the first $10 million. Everything above the 10 million goes to the insurance policy. So that case, every single company in our industry has looked at that case. Because if you're a broker and you had that truck as one of your trucks, that could be your liability. That could be you going out of business. Werner's a very, very, very well-funded company. They're going to be just fine. But if you're driving in Texas, you have to ask the question, am I responsible for some other person on the other side of the road losing control and smashing me? I, for what it's worth, side with Werner. I don't think they should be responsible for that level of liability. However, the fundamental rule, as any lawyer will tell you, never litigate a case with a dead child. You will not win. No one will be sympathetic to your position. They will look at you and say, how are we going to help this poor family? And that's the outcome you get. That's the Werner case. That's the biggest case in my mind we should be thinking about over 2024 and whether or not that gets overturned or not. It's wild.
Matt, how is it decided what rules are applied? Like, so we're based in Arkansas. But as a brokerage, our company runs all over the U.S., Hawaii, like all 50 states. So is it where the incident happens, where the carrier is based out of, where the brokerage is based out of? How does that?
It is almost always the site of the accident. That is where the law for those things happen. Now, sometimes things change if it's a contractual dispute, but if it's an injury or personal injury, it is always going to be in that state where it takes place, which is why brokerages really need to have insurance, because you have no idea what laws you're getting into. And when you get hit, it is very, very painful.
Guys,
So I want to. Oh, sorry, Claudia. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
I don't mean to hijack. I'm sorry.
This is what I love. This is I live for this. This is what like the world.
I just
like my world.
Yeah, I just want to touch on it before the conversation travels off, because I know how we get in the lounge.
Yeah. I'm staying on. So I think that's what I try to express on our side. Like whenever we're talking about risk, like I talk to other brokers, I'm like, I feel like you're not hearing me when I say, like, people think the risk is only, and y'all, I'm not diming anybody out. I'm just saying, as a whole across the industry, on the ops side, on the sales side, you're going to hear, well, the calculated risk, we're making an exception in this case, and those kind of things do not work. And because on the mindset of sales and on the mindset of like an LC, it's like as far as you can think is the amount of the load. All you can think is like, well, the only thing we might lose on that is the amount that we pay the carrier. No, we could all go home tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow because it takes a while, but like we could all go home because of a bad decision made of putting a carrier on a load.
What I love
I feel like sometimes I'm a little dramatic about it, but no, for real, y'all.
This is what I like about what you've brought up, Clyde, because earlier in this conversation, we were talking about Ryder and the way they maintain their equipment. Like big motor carriers know what the stakes are. They've known for a very, very long time. And we have, over the course of the last 40 or so, let's say 44 years, we've done a very good job of pulling out cost. And you pull out cost one thread at a time. And each thread that you pull is just a little bit more closer to having a supply chain that is fragile and malleable and breakable. And we get into a position where it is better to be cheap and go bankrupt than to do it correctly and safely. And this is the feature of our supply chain, not the bug of the supply chain. This is exactly how it runs. And it's terrifying when you think the level of unsafe equipment, when you think about the levels of insurance these companies carry. Some carry none, some carry $750,000. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
I know that you guys aren't necessarily on this side of it, guys, but like on our brokerage is so small that I see a lot of stuff that normally like my position wouldn't. And I've had new customers, potential customers from my account managers come to me and say, we want 10 million in general liability. Like, I'm gonna tell y'all, there are not very many brokerages who carry that. And it would have doubled my insurance cost for the entire year to carry that. And we already carry we carry a lot more than most brokerages do carry. But
I tend to
it's
believe
common.
that 5 million is probably the amount that we should have. Now, not 5 million as a general policy, but like $1 million as a base policy and maybe 4 million as an umbrella, just understanding the cost of medical care. And for
Yeah.
brokerages too, I mean, this is the nature of what happens. So when motor carriers have very little insurance, we as lawyers go, well, who's got the next pocket that I can go after? And the shippers are really, really good at being like, not my problem. Like, I hired you, broker, so you're my intermediary. You hire the carrier. Don't bother me. You leave me alone. And this idea of we can pass the buck to someone else, it becomes the American taxpayer who has to pay those bills, whether it's through people taking Social Security or disability or whatever. But it's a necessary thing to have the adequate insurance to cover the risk you put out into the world.
Yeah.
All right. I want to chime in, and I'm going to touch on each point that Matt said. So, as far as holding a broker liable, in the situation where the motor carrier has piece of shit equipment and they drive off the road and kill someone, I don't think I should be held liable because I'm not out there. I can't see that truck. I can ask you every question under the fucking sun about how your equipment is. Even if you send me DVIRs, I was a driver for a long time. John, you were a driver. We know, dude, it doesn't matter. All you can do is hit good on your ELD, and that's all that matters. That doesn't mean that they got their butt out of that seat and did a freaking thing to check that truck out. That case, I don't think a broker should be because, like I said, we're going based off of data. Hey, they've got inspections. Hey, the MC's good. Hey, this checks out, that checks out, so forth, so on. On the theft thing, I can see why brokers could be held liable. And it goes to the last thing that you just said about us being the intermediary. Every shipper out there, if you, as a broker, if you want to do any business at all, you have to have insurance. The shipper doesn't give a shit about the carrier's insurance. They care about your insurance because if something happens, the shipper's going to come after you for your insurance. But so in the case of theft, I could see how a broker could be held liable because, you know, if the carrier only has, you know, $100,000 cargo and they were carrying a truckload of 85-inch QLED Samsung TVs that retail right now for around $3,000, we obviously know, you know, there's going to be some money left over. That I could see. Now I'm going to touch on the thing with Warner. That's complete bullshit. I'm gonna tell you, and I'm sorry. I know a child was hurt, and I know your attorney, but that guy and that attorney, they're fucking pieces of shit. That driver, and I'll say this: Warner's trucks are governed at like 65. So unless that guy was an owner operator, which last I knew,
no, he was a company driver. It was snowing.
He wasn't driving near that fast either.
No, he was going like 50 something.
Exactly. So again, he's below the speed limit, whether or not he's below the speed limit. Who is to say, DOT officer, anybody, how can you tell me what a safe speed is in any weather? That's not for you to judge. That's for me as the professional driver to judge. Although he had 7 days, I get that. The trainer was in the bunk. The driver did nothing wrong. You crossed the median. You hit me. If I was that driver, I'd be countersuing that son of a bitch. I'm sorry to say, I have experienced something like that. I won't go into it, but I'm going to tell you, I think that is completely wrong that they're doing that to that driver. And we all know that driver's career is ruined. It will be hard pressed for him to find a job and find a way to make a living because of that one incident. And I'm sorry to say, do you think Warner is going to back him? Hell no, they're not. They probably done fired that guy and he's in the unemployment line right now.
Yeah. What I'll mention about this, I totally agree with you. I mean, honestly, like the driver did what he thought was right and reasonable at the time. And there's a lot of other stuff that happened, but the thing that you got to remind yourself of in terms of litigation, civil litigation, it's not like criminal. So criminal is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Like that's a very high standard. In the world that in the civil litigation world, it is what they call preponderance of the evidence. And what that really means is like more likely than not, like 51% versus 49%. It's a flip of a coin, honestly. And when you are someone like a big publicly traded company and you are going to have this thing that you have to understand, like what the lawyers are going to do is they're going to do everything they possibly can to say, this is not a driver having a bad day. This is a pattern of and practice of a hiring entity that is doing something that creates the disconnect where risk happens. If we can say, you're telling me to go fast, you're telling me not to go slow, you don't give me training, you start building the case. And again, I totally agree with you. I don't think that Werner should have been found liable for that thing, but this is the world we live in. And there will always be people that are distracted and someone's going to sue. That's why you have to have that insurance. It's crazy. I hope the Supreme Court flips on it, but we'll see.
You know who should be held liable? You know who should be liable? That piece of shit fleet manager. That's fucking who.
Well, see, that's what they did. So like they said, it is not the driver. It is the company organization, the agents who gave them this idea. So you're right. The driver for Werner was not the main cause in terms of how the jury found it. The jury said you were a tiny piece of this puzzle. It was the company who had this idea. And so that's why when you're talking about risk and PM compliance, like how often do you hit your PMs when you said you're going to do them? They look at how you conduct your business. And if we see you weak in some aspect, and we'll find out if you're weak in some aspect, we will take that and we will show it in front of the jury and we will persuade them. We are paid to persuade. And it's something that I enjoy very much.
The crappy thing about it is, man, and you know why people go after carriers because, and man, I want you to know, Matt, that I have absolute love and respect for you. So what I'm about to say, please do not take. I do, man. Like I do.
I appreciate it. That's a good.
I really do, man. So don't take this into it personally because it's obviously you don't do this, so it's not directed towards you. The problem with this is what I've said so many times. Carriers are easy targets for everybody. You drive up and down any highway in a city, and there's Jimbo. Oh, you got hit by a truck. Did they just scratch your bumper? I'll sue the shit out of them for $5 million. You know what I mean? That's the thing is carriers are a target because it's so hard for them to defend themselves and it's so easy to put blame on them. And I'll use the example for Werner. That dispatcher or fleet manager sent that message, that right there, boom. You know what I mean? That one message is what did the whole thing. It doesn't matter how well maintained the truck was. If that driver could have been a 15-year veteran, that one message is what makes all the difference. Because it shows. Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Of course.
I think it's really the responsibility of the driver. I mean, if you say to somebody, jump off the Brooklyn Bridge, don't worry about it. You're going to land. Everything's going to be safe. What are you going to do? I mean, if you're a professional and you know right from wrong, basically, I'll just be blunt. I would have told that dispatcher to go fuck himself. Seriously. That's exactly what I would say because he's putting myself in danger and I'm listening to him telling me how to do my job. I'm behind the wheel. You're not out there in the snow. You have no idea what I'm going through right now. You know, it's the driver's fault, I would say, because listen, you got to be smart behind the wheel. You know, don't act like a dumbass and listen to everybody that tells you what to do. Pull over to the side and say, no, it's too dangerous out here. I cannot drive in these situations. You're not out here.
See, I wish that was the case. I mean, the problem is like this driver doesn't know. 7 days. 7 days. They don't know.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that fully. But again, the guy was going 50 miles an hour. Unless someone can show, and I mean, unless I've seen the pictures from that day and how the roads were, then I'm telling you, 50 miles an hour in what's Texas snow, that's pretty slow, dude. I
And
mean, that's
snow
that's-
in an area that's not used to dealing with snow is very dangerous.
It's dangerous.
no,
Well,
it is.
here's
but-
the thing, guys. It's not the thing is, y'all, it doesn't matter if it's the
True.
driver's fault. What we're talking, I mean, it does, but in this case, it's not so much did the driver do something wrong. We're talking about the courts holding Werner liable. We're
agreed,
talking about
yes.
holding the company liable. And that's where my rub is and why I get all hot-headed and quote unquote passionate whenever I'm into this.
Yeah, I'm passionate
is
too.
because you know, you've got somebody who's sitting behind a desk, to Jeff's point, who's not out there on the roads, who's not whatever, who's saying, oh yeah, that carrier's fine, or oh, that driver, go ahead and make that look. If you're consistently doing, like, take a carrier that, hey, I'm constantly after this driver to do their preventive maintenance. I'm constantly after this driver to do their preventive maintenance. Look, after you're constantly after them for a while and they're not doing it, you better fire their ass, because as soon as they do something wrong and hurt somebody, that whole, what did you call it, Matthew, where you go back and you look at the
Pattern
the
and
pattern.
practices.
Yeah.
pattern.
Very good
Pattern.
buzzwords.
That's going
Very
to
powerful
get you.
buzzwords.
It's going to get you. And it's going to get you on the broker side too, if you're in a place that you can be held liable.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead. Think that your records won't be audited and see how many shitty carriers you put on a load. How many ghost carriers, how many times, and your stuff, all of your stuff will be audited, y'all. Don't think that you can send somebody a Teams and say that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
POS carrier, but go ahead and put them on. Y'all, someone will find it. Stop doing that shit.
So-
Stop it. Stop it. Stop
I
it.
got to chime in here. I
Go
got to
for it.
chime in here. You know, most of my career was on the operational side, and I hired carriers. All right, and I was in charge of a fleet, and I made sure that all the PMs were done. And here's the simple reason there: my reputation was in that truck. My company brand that I represented was in that truck.
Mhm.
Now, do you think I would want to be tied into that, or my company, knowing that my product and I loaded that caused a fatality out there? Hell fucking no. There's no way in hell. So I made sure, all right, that when trailers bumped my dock, that driver came in, especially when I was negotiating and saying, you're going to do a walk around, a pre-check, and you're going to bring that in there. And my yard horse, the guy out there, he's going to make sure that trailer is operational. Part of his job is to check out all the airline brakes, canisters, brakes, anything that he can see
Mhm.
that's abnormal, he had to write down. If I didn't like what I saw, I would have that trailer exchanged. Secondly, when PMs were done, I was the kind of guy that dug into each power unit. And I picked out the power unit and I said, I want all the details on when this turbocharger blew the last time. Oh, it was replaced. Then how come it blew again a week and a half later? Bullshit. You never did it. You never changed it out and anything. You know, I think it's the responsibility of operations, logistics manager, supply chain managers to also take responsibility for the carriers that bump their dock and do justice by inspecting them just to make sure.
This is the problem though. Like you expose yourself to
people don't.
liability when you start trying to control them. Like Roadrunner was a good example. Roadrunner had a bunch of owner operators, and they would force the owner operators to have a maintenance escrow. They would pull money from their payment and throw into an account and say, "This is for maintenance." And those drivers would say, "This feels a lot like you're controlling me." And so many motor carriers like, I don't want to have that risk of misclassification. I want to just emphasize this point. Like the way it works today, how like we see it as potentially dysfunctional, but this is exactly as it was designed to be. You don't have a bunch of owner operators running airlines where you have a driver or a pilot who owns his plane and takes care of it and moves passengers, because that liability is too terrifying to contemplate. But on trucking, we have done this really interesting dance where we say that truckers are heroes. We say that they're essential. And then we find ways to make their lives as hard as possible.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
go back to the days of deregulation. I'm not of going back like, oh, let me go back to 1980. I'd love to have that cool hair. But what I would
Mhm.
say
I
is
still
that
have it.
the world that we lived in,
Yeah.
60% of drivers were unionized. They worked for motor carriers who they didn't have brokers. Brokers didn't exist in the way that they do today. And
That's
LTL
true.
and truckload were not different. They were the same. It was trucking. It was a trailer filled with a bunch of stuff or not a bunch of stuff. And we
Mhm.
watched like 16,000 motor carriers before 1980 to hundreds of thousands today. And when we say things like, well, we believe in safety and maintenance, and yet 1 in 5 commercial vehicles fails international road check, it goes to the point of this is not good enough.
Yeah.
For the last 44 years, we've been like, this is probably good enough. It's not even close. It's not even close. And we have big industry saying we should have tort reform. There's nuclear verdicts. This $10 million is like Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It's designed to make people feel an emotion, anger,
Mhm.
revulsion, whatever.
Mhm.
It gets you engaged. But this is why I champion this business, because I know
Mhm.
the last generation is not going to fix it. It's going to be what we do now, and having platforms like this to tell the story of what it was like
Mhm.
when you could buy a house, buy a car. What did drivers make in 1980? Average was $38,000 a year. Adjusted for inflation, it's $110,000 to $120,000. It's different.
Mhm.
It's not a profession the way it used to be. To get
It-
in trucking,
I-
sorry, I'm
gotta-
rambling. I get
no,
excited.
Matt, I got to ask you this question. What do you think about drivers for pre-checks saying, I'm not doing it because I don't get paid for it?
That's part of your job description.
It is part of the DOT requirement. You
Exactly.
must do it. You have no option not to do it. But what this really does, in my opinion, push us more closely towards is autonomous trucks that check themselves and mechanics on site who look at them. The idea of trying to drive out cost is going to be done through automation. Give it 5, give it 10, give it 15 years. The middle mile will it will change in a way we cannot undo. And I am very confident that is. the future we see.
Before I tell me another thing, man, I'm glad you brought the autonomous. I never thought about that. Like, although there's drivers in it now, if it ever goes on fully autonomous, who's doing
Let me blow your mind. Oh, I love this.
Who's
Okay,
doing
now,
no?
hold on,
Who's
let me get
getting
myself
out
ready.
and crawling under the trailer? I want to know that. Like,
All right,
I
let me get my
think about that
conspiracy.
until now.
Here. All right, listen
Questions.
here. Listen here. All right. I'm going to talk
Yeah,
about
right.
some legal stuff. So, California had a bill that was proposed backed by the Teamsters, backed by OIDA, that was going to require a human being in every single truck.
Yes, I agree.
Governor Newsom vetoed that bill.
Yep.
Now, we had last year,
Because he's an
earlier in
idiot.
the year, a thing called an advanced notice of supplemental rulemaking. That is a legal thing when the FMCSA says, hey guys, we're thinking about doing something. What do you think about it? And that advanced notice of supplemental rulemaking was about level 4 and level 5 automation. Let me define those terms. Level 4 automation is a remote operator. It's a drone pilot, someone who's controlling the vehicle, not in the vehicle. The other one, level 5, is a remote assistant. That is someone who cannot take control of the asset, but they are assisting. They're helping someone communicate information to the shipper or whatever. So the fundamental thing about autonomous trucks is that we have been building these things around the drivers to control you and monitor you. Outward facing cameras, driver facing cameras, speed governors, everything. So what is the future of transportation? It is 4 trends. I've talked about them before: autonomous, connected, shared, and electric. Or you can call it ACES. That's what it stands for: autonomous, connected, electric. and shared.
Oh, coin term on the
Oh,
lounge. Coin
that term has been coined for a long time.
That's Matt's
It's
term,
ACES.
man. We can't get him
No,
on.
no, that's what I'm saying. It Matt coined it
The
on the
greatest innovation in supply chain, besides containerization, was the classification of independent contractor. How can I get you to behave like I need you to behave as if you were an employee, but I can pay you net 30 or net 45 or net 60. I don't have to pay your health and welfare. I don't have to pay for your vacation or your time off or your meal periods. That innovation drove out so much cost, but there's so much more cost to capture. The biggest cost in operating a commercial vehicle is fuel and labor. Assets and maintenance and tires and insurance are next, but those two, the fuel and the asset and the labor, are the 2 biggest costs. So what do I see in the world of autonomous? They will have more inspections. You will have to inspect them at the beginning, after every single trip. You will have mobile mechanics. So why does Cox Automotive, the company that is owned by Cox Enterprises, Cox Enterprises owns a telecom company, Cox Communications. They bought Dickinson. They bought FleetNet. They fundamentally believe that they are going to have mobile mechanics servicing autonomous vehicles. And that is what's going to be the future. They will have more inspections because our regulators will look much harder at the robot than they look at us today. Us today is garbage. 1 in 5 is garbage. That's terrible. That's a terrible, terrible metric. The robots will be better.
So before, hey, hold on, Jeff, because I've been wanting to say this for a second. Somebody remember about the autonomous thing? I love talking about autonomous vehicles and EVs because, man, I can almost crush almost anybody in that conversation. Probably not Matt, but almost anybody. All right, so on the pre-trip thing,
Yes.
here is someone who is a driver, man. I'll tell you, I was a stickler about it. I got trained by a really good guy. His parents had like 40 years between them. When he trained me, he taught me very good habits. You know, like do your pre-trip every single day. Do a mid pre-trip when you stop. Walk down when you get out. Yeah. Walk down one side of the truck. When you come back, walk down the other. Take a quick peek at the end of every single day. Check your shit out because if at the end of the day, if you check your stuff out, you're stopped. You're off the clock. You're in a truck stop, you can take it to the shop right there and get your tire changed, your airline fixed. You know what I mean? Now, here's the thing. And I go back to the pre-trip on the EODs or whatever system. All you got to do is click a button. There is nobody there, driver or a company driver, owner, operator, nothing. There is nobody there making them do it. I can tell you that 95% of the drivers that I saw when they left the truck stop that morning turn their fucking truck, or this is the stupid part. They got out, went inside, got their coffee and their food and everything else, came back out, hopped in their truck and left. No pre-trip, no nothing. Yep. I was one. I didn't care if it was 5 degrees outside. I did a pre-trip. I have both my sons that can confirm that because I even taught them how to do proper pre-trips and post-trips. And that's the thing is we can preach about it all we want, but there's nobody out there watching these people. And I go back to the thing we talk about preventive maintenance. Pre-trip goes into that. Like
absolutely,
it is
the most common inspection you have to do. 100%.
Yes, dude. I have caught so many small little things when doing a pre-trip that it was crazy. You know, I mean, and I was extensive on mine, man. I would turn my steers from side to side and get my flashlight, look at all my bushings, everything, pull my hood. Are there any leaks? I mean, dude, I would even tug on my airlines to make sure they weren't brittle and fell off. I mean, I was very meticulous about that, but most drivers don't. They get taught it, and then that's the end of it. You know what I mean? And here's another thing that I would say that I think that companies of all sizes, whether you're an individual owner operator or one of the mega carriers, they leave it up to the trainer or someone else to teach you how to do a pre-trip. Well, how the hell do you know the person that's training them does a pre-trip worth of shit?
And let me just build off of that real quick. Cause like the thing that I want to remind everyone about is like in the old days, and it still is the case for many of the major LTLs and major trucking companies, there were 3 departments that mattered: operations, safety, and maintenance. Those 3 were how you trained people, how you operated, and you had people that were invested in long-term continuing education of these professional drivers. And they still exist in the big companies, but the idea of this deregulation, the explosion of independent contractors creates a thing where you are not trained. To get a CDL takes about 2 months. 2 months to operate an 80,000-pound machine. It is very, very, very big. And the training is not necessarily consistent. We saw some companies committing fraud, trying to pass people. Like the world we live in is very different than the world we came from. And a lot of people, I think mistakenly, believe that transportation is a safe type of industry, similar to the rails or similar to the airlines. And it simply is not. It is not that way. And we as consumers will not pay for it to be that way. Because who here in this call or the people watching would say, yeah, I'd like to pay 25% more for everything that I have because I want them to come on safe equipment. Like no one is. No one's going to do that. When Amazon came to the business, they're like, we want to deliver packages. Should we be like UPS, the unionized motor carrier who also has airlines, or FedEx, the airline has a bunch of independent contractors? Which one gives us the most money? Oh, let's do that one. Let's not do the UPS way. And this is the thing we're in. Like that's a business model that is ultimately not going to be successful in the world we live in. And as Thanos so famously said, dread it, run from it, destiny arrives all the same. And that end of that company, we see it. It's going to happen. We saw yellow. We never thought yellow, but
I have so much more love and respect for you. The fact that you just quoted Thanos and Marvel.
The Mad
Bro,
Titan.
right.
It's
Bro,
fantastic.
I love the character, but I'm a huge Josh Brolin fan. Like, I love that freaking guy, dude. He's freaking awesome.
He was great as Cable too.
Yes, but I mean, I don't, man. The thing is, and this actually just came to me, and man, I may catch some slack for this, but here's another thing with these carriers is, when do you have to get an inspection mandatory? Once a year. Who's to say that carrier's done a flipping pre-trip in 3 months?
Absolutely.
Hey, maybe, hey, sorry to say, carriers, you can kick me in the face all you want. I'm a broker, you do anyways, but maybe once a month, maybe once a month. Take that truck in, and you've got to have that sticker redone every single month.
God,
and have
that would be too terrible. I would say this. I would say I don't disagree necessarily. California is the most robust with the BIT program. That's 4 inspections a year. That's still pretty.
I could do that. I like that, man.
That's what the LTLs like. If you're an LTL provider, like you're OD, you're Pitt, Ohio, you are touching that equipment every 3 months. But what I would say is, I would like to see the FMCSA make a move to require 2 inspections a year. That would be such a fundamentally important move that I believe would actually drive safer equipment. Now, it would be expensive.
I agree.
It'd be tough, but I think that's the move we have to do. Because if we as a society say 1 in 5 is good enough, then we are doing a disservice to everyone on the road. The goal of our industry, at every industry, is that you get home in the same condition that you left. And if we can do that through preventative maintenance, oh my goodness, wouldn't that be a thing? And I'm with you. I think more inspections are necessary, but there are powerful, incredibly powerful lobbying interests that are adamantly opposed to any regulation that would require additional levels of inspection, because it costs money. And us as consumers, we don't want to spend the money.
Sorry. I got to go on mute. Someone else go on. My wife's telling me about the cat's vet visit. So
I could recite some poetry. Maybe that would be helpful.
Well, I've actually got a couple questions for you, Matt. I want to shift the gears a little bit. Yeah, everyone else here is mostly broker-centric, okay? I'm more carrier-centric, so please don't shoot the messenger, and don't worry, Pedro, I'm not going to slap you anytime soon. I've been dealing a lot in my work with fraud prevention, dealing with guys who have been holding cargo hostage and getting freight guards for that. Now, the way I've always understood it is that there's only one situation in where holding freight hostage is an acceptable practice, and that's when there's no reasonable expectation of the carrier getting paid. What is your take on that whole kit and caboodle there?
Man, it's the only leverage you have. As a motor carrier, keeping the freight is the only thing you have. I look at the case with IKEA. This is a case, IKEA is suing Convoy and a bunch of motor carriers, and it's for $524,000. And they're basically saying, we don't know who to pay. So these motor carriers have moved stuff. They've given up the freight. They have no strength. They have no skin in the game to get paid for the stuff that they have. I don't like motor carriers keeping something, but that reasonable expectation of payment, that's going to depend on the state of what they consider reasonable expectation of payment. Because that's a question that the state would have to answer, like in the courts. I don't have a strong answer for you, John. Like the reality is, like, there's not a lot of other levers a motor carrier can pull. And if they're thinking they're not going to get paid, that's a lever they're going to try and keep. So it's hard to say. I don't know.
One of the things that I've been talking about with my clients is, if you have a rate confirmation, that's pretty much promised that you're going to get paid. You need to freaking deliver the load. Even if there's still a dispute between the carrier and the broker, maybe it's an accessorial thing, maybe it's maybe you're dealing with a double broker situation. The scammer promised the carrier $4,000, the real broker's only paying $2,000. Whatever that is, once you have the real carrier and the real broker connected, and we know the freight's supposed to go to the right place, it needs to deliver. It needs to be there. You can still haggle about it after it's over, but it needs to deliver.
I'm with you. I think safely delivering freight on time and undamaged is, again, one of the most difficult things in this country to do. And if that's what the contract says to do, and you're fighting about some miscellaneous things, that's one thing. If you're talking to a broker who might be going bankrupt and you're like, I really just want to make sure I get paid for this thing, I understand, because these guys and gals are one bad move away from bankruptcy. And if
That's
you're
true.
in those desperate situations, like, you're going to use every lever you possibly can. So I don't know. I don't have a strong answer,
Now,
but I do understand your position.
Let me expand on that a little bit more. Let me go back to UCC rules when it comes to lien of carrier. Okay, if a carrier basically is told, I can't pay you for this load, the broker sits there and says that, or they say, hey, you were late, I'm not paying you for the load, and the carrier still got the load in him. Of course, now he can go ahead and hold the load to do whatever he needs to do. Is that when we roll into the execution of the carrier's lien in order to be able to try to sell the cargo? And if that is the case, what is the proper procedure for being able to do that? Because as I understand, there's a whole bunch of things that have to happen. You have to notify the beneficial cargo owner. You have to do all sorts of different things in order to legally do that. Otherwise, the carrier can be completely screwed because they didn't follow procedure.
Yeah,
What is the procedure for doing that?
That is not an area of the law that I practice. So I would tell anybody is don't take legal advice from a podcast or a video thing. I would also say you should consult an attorney. Every single business, whether you're an owner operator or you're a larger carrier or a larger broker, should have a lawyer on staff, or not on staff, but on call, who you have a relationship with. Just like you do preventative maintenance on your equipment, you should do preventative maintenance on your legal contracts and your understanding of how the law functions. So I would say, John, like, I don't have the answer for you. If I had time to research, I could probably get you the answer, but I would say that it's a process like anything else. And you want to get the lawyer who specializes in that field to make sure you do it the right way. Because to your point, you do it wrong and you could be in a lot of trouble.
Well, fun fact, we're
Appreciate
about
you.
to launch Logistics Lounge Law. So a couple weeks.
I'm an employment guy. I do contracts. Like that's my jam. Like, you misclassify someone who's supposed to be non-exempt to make them exempt, like TQL, all these other things. That's stuff that I get. That's a fascinating case. Like that TQL. Have we talked about that? Can we talk about that, Pedro, that case?
Oh, absolutely. I missed
All
it by like 2 years, man.
Okay. So this
Hey, guys,
case,
I gotta go.
goodbye,
Have a
Jeff.
good weekend.
Later, Jeff.
I'm gonna bounce in about 7 minutes. I have to
Hey.
get ready for dinner, but I will say the story about TQL. which
Thanks
I-
for coming,
I-
Jeff.
So what happens in this TQL case, it's a class action lawsuit in the state of Ohio. And what happened is TQL had taken entry-level freight brokers and classified them as salaried, saying we don't owe you overtime. So the compensation these people were getting is like $36,000 to $39,000 a year. They're working 60 hours a week. They're working weekends. They're being on call, all of these things. And a lawsuit is filed in 2010, I believe. And the class action lawsuit gets 4,500 people who participated as class members who were told that they were salary and not hourly. And it gets bonkers. For 13 years, TQL fights this thing. And eventually they lose. They lose, and they have to classify these people as hourly, so they have to pay the back wages. The numbers are astonishing. So the Fair Labor Standard Act, you cannot buy insurance to cover this. So if you misclassify somebody, that's out of your own pocket. That's what you're going to have to pay. But this is so fascinating. The liability that TQL faces for that misclassification lawsuit is at a low end, $100 million. At a high end, $200 million. And what's even more interesting is they were assessed a thing called liquidated damages. Essentially, in court, they proved that TQL did not exercise good faith in making the classification determination. Because what did Ken Oakes depose in his deposition? What did he say actually happened? He said he made
TIA did it.
the TIA told me. The TIA told me to classify them as non-exempt. What are you talking about? Oh my gosh. How many brokerages out there, and I know there are many, have been taking people as entry-level workers, calling them now exempt when they're actually non-exempt. This is why we see so many brokers doing things offshore, Put them in Central America, put them in Eastern Europe, put them somewhere else. Because in those countries, there aren't any Labor Standards Act that we have to comply with like the US. Oh, it's a fascinating case.
I love that one. Being on the carrier side. Well, actually, I don't know what side you're on. Anytime you see TQL take a hit, it just happens.
Well, their
It's a
non-competes are so awful. I mean, that's the thing I know about them is the non-competition agreements. They won't let me follow them on Twitter. Let me just be very clear. I am a very reasonable person. My name is Matthew Leffler. I'm a 39-year-old attorney, a father of 4. I have a Twitter handle called Armchair Addy, ATTY. Why? Because ATTY is the abbreviation for the word attorney. I have asked to follow TQL, and they have declined me so far. Now, I am a reasonable man. I am not a bad person. I do want to be able to communicate with you through Twitter. So please, if you're watching, I'm not a bad guy. I'd like to follow you.
They're like, no, this guy's going to screenshot every damn thing that we.
Oh, it'd be so much fun. I mean, this is what I love to do. This is what I love to do, man. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks for watching, Alec. Alec is the operations manager over here where I work at Synergy Freight. Thanks for watching, brother. I sure appreciate it, dude. If you want to come on, just let us know. I'll give you a link. You can pop in for 2 minutes and just say hi.
All right, gentlemen, I have to say farewell. It has been an absolute pleasure here today. And
yes.
If I can just leave with a very special message to everyone watching.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Can you focus it on me so it's just me for a second?
Put him on there, Hunter.
I got you.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Today's episode is brought to you by Medium-Sized Dogs. Medium-Sized Dogs, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. Medium-Sized Dogs, ask for them by name. Now available in new colors. Enjoy Medium-Sized Dogs.
Matt, you are the GOAT, brother. Like, seriously, you are the absolute GOAT, man. Oh, bro. Hey, Matt, we appreciate you coming on. Hey, anytime that you see us on, anytime you want to come on, you know you are always welcome just to hang and chill. Next time, if it's possible, we want to we want to see the kiddos, man.
I'm sure they're around. I'll find them one of these days. Next time, I'll bring the babies. We can do that.
He said, I'll find them one of these days. Y'all hear that? He said, I don't know where they're somewhere around here.
Well, gentlemen, have a great rest of your night. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Stay safe, drivers. This is a difficult industry, difficult business. Be safe.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, brother.
All right. It is now on to freestyle. Well, I mean, it kind of has been Freestyle Friday already. We done talked about almost everything. If a frisbee can kill it, then it ain't a dog.
That's why we got medium-sized dogs.
Hey, come on, show my chihuahuas some love, okay?
Yeah, I got a couple little terriers, man. They're tough little bastards. I'll give it to them, but
dude, y'all have got to get some man dogs. I remember
you have cats.
Hold on.
You have cats. I'm not listening to a cat.
I don't have cats. I don't have any cats. My wife has a cat. My son has a cat, and my other son has a cat. What Robert had was a 110-pound Rottweiler. I just have not been able to talk my wife into letting me get another dog because we went from a 1-animal household to a 3-animal household. But yeah, I don't care. I love
get you
dogs.
another big dog in there to eat some of them cats, man. Get rid of the problem.
You know, I grew up with Saint Bernards. Okay, I've done the big dog thing, and I could tell you, I like the little dogs. They are nice. They're comfortable. I don't have to get knocked all over the place. I don't have slobbering drool splattered all over the walls. Of course, they can't carry a brandy keg at Christmas time like my Saint Bernards used to. But you know, but they are still my little bundle of joy, and yes, they are smaller than my cats. So, but that's okay,
dude. I love animals. Period, man. I really do. I don't know. I grew up my whole life. We had large dogs, and I don't know. I just and me. I'll say when we got our Rottweiler, my wife wanted a small dog, but I was a driver, and I said, well, if someone kicks that door in, what is a Chihuahua gonna do to that person? And dude, even though
what's a big dog gonna do, man? I have yet to find a big dog. you walk in with a
even
bag of treats, you probably
hold
get
on,
free
hey,
reign. You're the
even
best friend.
even though our Rottweiler, she was an absolute sweetheart. My wife trained her not to bark when someone knocks at the door. She would just follow my wife to the door, and my wife would hold her collar. And here's the funny part. When you open the door, all she wanted to do was go to you so you could touch her and love her. But all they saw was my wife holding this Rottweiler and her trying to get out to love you. Dude, we had a FedEx guy drop rang our doorbell, and my wife just happened to be right by the door. She opened the door with our Rottweiler. This dude saw that dog. I swear to God, he did not touch the grass when he went back to his truck.
You don't go to that Peterson's house. They got a monster inside. Nah, man, I like all dogs, dude. I've been a big corgi guy. I've had corgis all my life, but I rescued my two little shits. They're fun, but yeah, big dogs are cool. But I'm on John's side. You know, the world's largest lap dogs are 100 pounds plus. So that's fun.
That's very true, man.
But
I just
cats
love that.
have no trust in man. We live in their world.
I will agree with you on that. I mean, dude, I'll say I have never ever had cats in my life. And it's because dogs, their entire world is like pleasing you. You know what I mean? Their master, like their whole world revolves around you. And cats, you're right, they just do whatever. But I will say, dude, I love our cats, man. Like, I'm just an animal guy, and dude, I would allegedly do something not so nice to someone. JB, I appreciate you giving me that little bit of advice there. Remember, JB was the one that said, "No, Pedro, allegedly."
You got to, man. You got to cover your bases.
JB, how you doing, brother? What part of the country are you in today?
Oh, JB, your voice is not coming through, brother, man.
Yeah, I think you're muted, brother.
He's not muted. I don't know if his. I just want to give JB props for practicing safe driving out here.
He does, dude. Hey, he may be on, bro, but if you watch him, man, he's always watching the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's just able to talk without taking his eyes off everything. So, and you know what? Here's the way I see it, dude. Doing like that is no different than just talking on the phone. Period. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, seriously, as long as you're listening.
Oh yeah, man, he's hands free.
Acting yourself. So,
good enough
John,
for me.
dude, what's up with you, bro? What's new in the broker bounty hunter world?
Well, frankly, like I said, I got busted a few double brokers earlier this week. That was always cool.
I need to start reaching out to you about that, man. I've been sending bad MCs all over the place, but I just need someone to do something about it.
Yeah, well, go ahead, kick it my way. I consolidate lists. I send them over to the Office of the Inspector General at DOT on a weekly basis. They told me to stop sending reports every time I bust somebody because then it's like 2 reports a day. So they just said, just consolidate it on an Excel spreadsheet and send it to us once a week, please. So, whatever works.
That's why you need to be on LinkedIn more often, dude. Like the lady that was on Claudia, Hunter, Claudia, Tim Bannon, and I, dude, we have a group chat, but Hunter is always, man, we're always sharing like information about double brokers and messed up MCs. I shared one today. Hunter shared one a few days ago. Dude, you got to get on there. Like I'm telling you, like LinkedIn, Facebook's cool, but LinkedIn has got a whole fraud fighting army on.
Yeah, Dale Prax is another one. He has verified trucker, I think, something like that. But he's coming on the show shortly. But same thing, man. Like there's a lot of people out here doing what you do. So you would have some good conversations.
My co-host is doing something very similar when it comes to dispatchers. She's putting together a group that verifies dispatchers for to follow a specific code of ethics to determine best practices. She reviews their agreements to make sure they're sufficient, things like that. She is fantastic at that. And Kate, if you're listening, next time I jump on to a Freestyle Friday, come on with me. But and if I could do a shameless plug here, that is
Yeah, I was about to say.
Double Broker. That's for the Double Broker Bounty Hunters. Stop the Scam Show, Monday evenings, 5 p.m. Central Time. Just go to my Facebook group or go to my YouTube page at Double Broker Bounty Hunters, and you can catch us live on YouTube.
Yeah, man. That's why you need to get over here on LinkedIn once again, dude. You can get in contact with old Shifra, because that's one question I asked her was about the how do we go through all these dispatchers? Like, what's to say that they're not out here just pulling good MCs? You know, one truck, good authority, everything out here. And then
I had somebody on my Facebook group actually talking about dispatchers the other day. They were sitting there saying that to be a proper dispatcher, you had to have your own carrier authority. And I'm like, are you out of your bloody freaking mind? You don't want a contract dispatcher to have their own authority, because that's when they sit there and say, oh, my authority's got more maturity than your authority, so I'll book the load under my authority, I'll factor it, and I'll just pay you. Okay. No, I've got a case working with Department of Justice right now where I've got a lady in Alabama who did just that and has at least 20 carrier victims that she never paid.
Yeah. And see, that's what sucks, man, because, you know, like we were talking about pre-show.
The fraud is out there everywhere.
There's good dispatchers out there, and I feel like I'm leaving a lot of good, I'm leaving a lot of, like, opportunities on the table, because, you know, like I talk to the dispatcher and, you know, I go through my carrier packet, but there's no way to check a dispatcher on there. It's just an email, and it's like, hey, who do I send it to? Like, that's the only thing I can truly do is check their MC and make sure that the email they give me lines up. But who's to say that they don't have all the same information that I have, you know, just to go through the motions?
You know, I deal a lot with guys like you, and I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of people sit there and don't trust dispatchers, and that's fine. Okay, I don't mind people who don't trust me because my email address doesn't match the name of the carrier that I'm representing. That's fine. Verify me. Call my owner. Call the safer phone number. Email the safer email until you get someone to verify who I am. Please do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, it's not that I don't trust them all, but it's like, you know, like the solo operations or the 1-2 mom pop operations, and like, yeah, I've worked with a lot of great dispatchers, man. My boy Chris down in Atlanta, he had the best fleet of hot shots I have ever seen in my entire life. Used him for years, and it was just, you know, just him running all these trucks, and it lined up. But it all lined up. But like, I don't know. These days, man, it's just like everybody's getting so crafty. It's really hard to, like, because you can even get on the phone with somebody that is smooth talking, you know, like very trustworthy. But like, where is that verification? Like, how do I get to the bottom of it? Okay, I'm talking to John Cantero.
Well, whenever I do talk to a broker, yeah, I'm always plugging myself, not just as a dispatcher at Vigilant Transportation Services, but I plug myself as the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, and I give them my website, and I give them my Facebook group, and I give them my.
See, that's a difference. But when I get
and that starts exciting people because I'm so involved in it. But your average dispatcher, even a good one like my coworker Kate, she doesn't have stuff like that she can sit there and convince somebody with. All she has is an American voice. Yeah. You know, which I'm sorry to say is 75% of what you need to have to be considered legitimate in this industry. She's got the voice. She has the knowledge. What I can't stand are the dispatch farms operating out of India and Pakistan who have no idea about U.S. geography or U.S. laws or hours of service regulations or any of those things that get these carriers in trouble. You know, these mom and pop carriers, they rely on people like me to be able to run their business for them because they're too busy driving the truck. So if that kind of expectation is put on me, then damn it, I better know what the hell I'm talking about, and I better be putting them in a position for success and not setting them up for freight guards and all these other things to happen.
Yeah. Rob, put your hand down right now.
Sorry, dude. You know what we need? I literally was just thinking about this yesterday. One of the things that I like about fucking Zoom and like Google Meets is they have that little hand icon. You know, like you can digitally raise your hand. And dude, I wish we had that on here, bro. Like I wish StreamYard would do that. All right, so I want to touch on the dispatcher thing because I like talking about it. And the reason I like talking about it is because I am one of the few few brokers, I am a proponent for dispatchers. Just like brokers and everyone else, I don't give a shit what anyone says. They have a place in this industry. If you're an owner operator, you know how hard it is to deal with freight. Now, there are some out there that do it on their own. Like, hey, that's fine.
More power to them.
I'll tell you one of the most, as a leader, one of the best pieces of advice that I have gotten, as the best leaders and managers know how to delegate. And that's all a dispatcher is delegating a duty that you yourself do not have the time for. And that's the end of it. Here's honestly here's what I really think is one of these solutions towards the dispatcher conundrum. Dispatchers need to they need to have a business. You need to have an LLC and an EIN registered whatever state you have. There needs to be, John, you may disagree with me on this, they need to have insurance. Just like a broker, even though I have a carrier and that carrier's insurance is supposed to take care of things, I as a broker can be held liable. Dispatchers, let me tell you something. You're out there operating on yourself without no LLC or incorporation to protect yourself. Some shit goes wrong. We were just talking about people coming after brokers. Don't think for one fucking second that you're not going to get pulled into that if someone finds out, because you know why? You're the one dispatching the truck. Second, or another thing, I think that there does need to be some type of system to industry wide to verify dispatchers. Where I work, we have a system. So, John, let's just say that you're calling in for a load. Obviously, if you were calling in one of my loads, you would just holler at me. But let's just say you see one of our loads on the board. You call in. You say, "Hey, I'm a dispatcher." We ask for a lot of information. I won't say all of it because I don't want to give anything away. But we have a system. If you say this, I'm a dispatcher. Here's my email. Here's my phone number. And we don't see any of that listed anywhere. We do. We get on databases, not just FMCSA, because those can be hacked and the information can be changed. We pull information. We call the owner of the company, the numbers that are listed on FMCSA, all that stuff, and we verify that the dispatcher is an authorized agent. And I use that term because that's exactly what a dispatcher is. It's a broker agent working for a broker. You're an agent under that MC number. That is what a dispatcher is. And we do that to make sure that we're doing business with the right people. You know what I mean? I would also add this. Owner operators, if you use a dispatcher, I know a lot of places now use like My Carrier Packet, RMIS, all these things like this. I'm old school. And when I helped a buddy of mine, even though we did RMIS, when a broker emailed me, I would send them our carrier packet, the one I make. It's got a cover sheet with all the contact info. It's got the MC authority. It's got the insurance. It's got the incorporation of the LLC. It's got the W-9. You need to put one of those together, and you need to put your dispatcher's info in there. Put a sheet in there that says this person is for me. So not only are you doing the packet and stuff, you're sending us something saying, hey, they are an authorized agent for me. And I know it sounds like a lot, but John, I think you can agree that it's just kind of got to that point with everything, even carriers, like the verification needs to be done. And I think dispatchers, they get a rough name for a few reasons. One, the COVID crusaders, just like the brokers and carriers, they went online, they watched some dumbass who can't do, so they teach, and said, oh, you can be dispatcher, make 6 figures a year. And then they teach you the completely wrong way to do business. 2, it's the foreigner. John, you touched on this earlier. It's the people from overseas. Nobody can verify. They're using VoIPs. They have no idea what's going on. And there's a huge language barrier, so forth, so on. So there's people and reasons that have made things harder for y'all, but that's the solution. I really think there is, man. Is finding a way
There are 2 things here that I want to hit you on. One, the liability insurance. Okay, I can tell you that right now I do not operate with a general liability policy. I do believe that should become a requirement. I do believe that FMCSA should institute a classification of authority for dispatchers that can regulate them and require them to do whatever necessary things in order to help protect the industry as a whole. So I would very much support such a move. And as far as getting general liability, it is something I am thinking about. But I also have written into my agreements, which have been extensively reviewed by attorneys, a waiver in there that allows me to be absolved of any liability should something go wrong. Now, I still am required until I meet Matt. You're absolutely right. But a responsible dispatcher is going to sit there and is going to take into account all the different potential issues that can take place during the course of a load. You know, you're booking a load that's 600 plus miles. Can the driver cover 600 miles in a regulated duty day? You know, how much hours have they already consumed? If I'm keeping all that stuff in play, then I know that I'm operating safely. I'm steering this carrier safely. And if I'm doing something that's outside of the norm, I tell the carrier, I said, look, are you sure you want to do this? Like I've had carriers before come and tell me and say, hey, John, I only got 2 pallets on this box truck here. You know, is this a dedicated load? Can you put more cargo on here? I'm sorry, man. It posted as a dedicated load. Well, it doesn't have a seal on it. Find me something else to throw on there. And I was like, okay, let me explain to you what you're asking me to do. Okay, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. Don't get me wrong. I get paid a percentage of everything he makes. You know, but if you get caught, it's not on me. You know, and they tell me to do it anyway. Okay, fine, whatever. You know, but I'm not disclosing who my clients are. But a good dispatcher should help guide carriers, even new carriers, as to how to try to navigate through this minefield that we call the transportation industry. And as long as they're doing that, you know, I don't see a great deal of risk on my side when it comes to a situation. Now, that being said, yeah, Matt has a very good point about general liability, and I do think the dispatchers probably should have that in the bucket.
John, I'm telling you, brother, I as someone who operated a business for a short time. Unfortunately, I was an idiot. I bought into a franchise, was a complete fucking disaster. But I'll tell you, I had an instance. I hired a guy. Told me that he knew how to do a specific thing, specifically dealing with hardy board on the side of a house. And come to find out, the guy had no fucking clue what he was doing, absolutely made a shit show of this lady's home. She came after me, and I was fortunate enough that I had a good insurance agent who he made me buy a bond, and he made me get insurance. And fortunately, that saved my ass. Even though I had an LLC, you know, they could have got me in civil court and ran over me, but all of that was gone because I had that insurance in place. And John, you've been in this long enough. JB, Hunter, we all know that the biggest thing in this industry, the most important thing, is to mitigate and eliminate risk as much as possible. Whether you're a shipper, a broker, whatever. Brokers, we have to have a bond. Every broker should have insurance, even though it's not a requirement. If you don't, you're an idiot. But you know that we add layers as a broker to protect ourselves, and carriers do as well. And I think, you know, the smart thing that any business owner should do the same thing. And I agree with you. I think there should be something out there to do it. But the FMCSA, we all know, has not ruled on any of that stuff yet, and they continue to, you know, push it off to the next meeting. You know, they're fucking bureaucrats. You know, that's what they do. Push it off.
Well, the final rule that they implemented back in October, as far as what dispatch services are and whether or not they're a bona fide agent, or if they should have a broker authority or stuff like that. You know, most of that is common sense, but then there's some of that's absolute horseshit.
It didn't do anything, though, John. I mean,
no.
And
they actually sit there and say none of this can be enforceable by law.
Exactly.
They came out and said
we need a DSA, Dispatcher Safety Administration.
Oh my God.
You know,
Bite your tongue.
A transportation SRO A transportation SRO can deal with this, though. What we need as an industry
What's
is
hey,
we need an SRO.
what's that, John? I've never heard that. What's a transportation RSO? What's that?
It's basically a self-regulating organization. What we need is we need the government to authorize for the transportation industry to put together a group of experts to help regulate the industry as ourselves. We need brokers on there, we need dispatchers on there, we need truckers on there, and then they create the rules that we operate under. It's about self-regulation. And I think something like that would be a great vehicle to help to better integrate where a dispatcher is needed. And you pointed out yourself, there are some owner-operators out there that are capable of doing this on their own. They don't want to deal with dispatchers. You don't have to. I don't sit there and try to change somebody's mind as to whether or not a dispatcher is good. My customers need me because they need me. They can't do it themselves. And those people, they need somebody like me who's capable of helping them manage their business. That's what I offer. That it's a service. Just what brokerage was back in the 80s, and it's now turned into providing a service to the to your shipper as opposed to providing a service to the carrier. Now as dispatchers are coming in and filling in what was the traditional broker role from 40 years ago. But there is a need for it. And as long as there's a need for it, then there needs to be somebody in some way to control how that function
already
is.
saw that. Claudia brought it up to us. Hunter's already. Oh shit! Sorry, not on mute. Dead account.
Technology, Rob.
Hold up, but hold on, bro. I'm about to bring something to your attention that Cat caught it. You've already caught it, but Cat did too. JB, after I say this, I want you where you rolling that, homie? Or how's your day been? Where you rolling? And what's your fucking 20? But hold on. Kat just pulled up our thing, and that other page that is similar, she pulled up, and Kat just said the conversation you and Hunter had yesterday about the legalities. She said you need to do it right now. You and I'll talk after the show. It was kind of vague, but you and I aren't trying to give away too much information. So, JB, let's go. How was your day? What's your 20?
Y'all can hear me now.
Yeah, we can.
I'm in southern Indiana, making my way towards Mount Crawford, Virginia to
making his way downtown. Sorry, that just came in my head. I had to get it out.
Yeah, thanks for ruining the rest of my night, because now I'm going to have to play that song later. Singing my heart out and shit. Making my way downtown.
We'll start doing some JB karaoke soon.
I had a miserable cold shower. That was fun. It's already cold outside, so I had to have a cold shower to top it off.
Poor baby.
Screw the health benefits of that. I wanted a hot one.
Screw that.
My nipples were hard. That's never good.
TMI.
Other than that, it's been a fairly calm day. It's been nice. It's going to be a late one for me, but so far, so good.
Well, that's good, man. That's good. Where's your red light at? I'm seeing a little bit of red light. Where's the big red light? Oh, there it is.
Sorry, I'll just leave it like that.
Hey, little orange, man. We're gonna send you some full-on LEDs, man.
I need to get some.
Get
my
that
next
thing
load's supposed to
swanked
be my
out.
home load, so maybe I'll get some.
Hell yeah.
To the double brokering agent guy, bad guy, or what the
that's John Cantera.
John is a homie. John is a
double broker
homie.
bounty hunter. That's what it was. How often are you seeing people like try to hold loads hostage? I know you were talking about it earlier.
It really depends on the situation. A lot of times I'm seeing in terms of a double brokered load where the carrier was promised an exorbitant amount of money for the load, and then once he finally is connected with the real broker says, no, I'm only paying half that. And that's when the driver tends to pull over and say, screw this, I'm staying here until you pay me everything I was promised. The problem is that the law does not support the carrier in that particular instance. And there are a lot of carriers that are proud to admit that.
Well, so I heard the reason I brought it up is because I was in a situation similar to that at one time, but according to law enforcement, which, you know, they're not exactly lawyers or nothing like that, but it becomes a civil matter. So
Yes, they all will tell you it's a civil matter. But the
Yeah.
problem is that you can badger the hell out of a broker, and you can get them to probably pay that full amount. Okay, if you were promised 4,000, load actually only paid 2,000, you might be able to get them to pay the full amount. But I promise you're going to get a freight guard for altering the agreement en route and for holding cargo hostage. I guarantee you will get that freight
Right.
guard. And the only way you're going to get that freight guard removed is to pay them back the extra 2,000. That is the only way you're going to be able to do that. So you need to make a business decision at that point. And that's what I tell a lot of my clients when they deal with freight guards in this regard. Do you want to go ahead and keep the extra $2,000 and line your pocket for the rest of your career, or and then lose your business, or do you want to go ahead and salvage your business and take the penalty and walk away?
So
They
I had
all
an
take the
instance-
penalty and walk away.
I had an instance where this happened, but it wasn't because, it was mainly because the broker had changed the terms of our agreement from the Raycon. It was supposed to be, it said it went to stop A, didn't go to stop A, it had to go to B, so there's extra miles, things of that nature. And the broker didn't want to pay the extra mileage. So I was like, look, man, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm going to just hang on to your load until you pay me the money. Because even like when the cops called, I'm not stealing your load. I'm not keeping it from you. You broke the terms of our agreement. So you need to pay up. And he kept refusing to pay, and I just had to stand my ground with him until he did. Eventually he paid, and I'll go deliver your stuff. Like, you alter the terms of our deal.
That's true, but that breaks into an accessorial exercise. As far as the line haul is concerned, you're still going to get paid the line haul. You're only haggling over an accessorial charge. You're still obligated to deliver the load. Now, what you can do is you can withhold the BOL. Don't give the BOL back to the broker until they satisfy your requirement. You can do that because the BOL. The broker wants the BOL to prove that they delivered the load so they can get paid too. You sit on that BOL, they're going to keep talking to you. All right. So you can keep negotiating after the fact by sitting on the BOL, but in that situation, you can't just not deliver. You can't delay yourself just to try to coerce a broker to do something. That can turn out very ugly. And technically, it's classified as cargo theft. So be careful. Please be careful.
Yeah, because I had him
You
call
can
the
hold
law
the BOL.
I had him call law enforcement on me, and I said, look, I want to deliver this load, but it's now gone from I'm supposed to deliver here to like 75 miles over here. Like that's a big difference, So
It is. It's a couple $100 to you.
No.
It's a couple $100 to you. So yeah, you have the right to be compensated for that. But hold the BOL to force that compensation. Don't stop the load. If you stop the load, now you're being adversarial and you are not doing anything to win favor with the broker. If you deliver the load but sit on the BOL, say, look, I don't want to give over the BOL until we hash this out. So let's hash this out. You're going to get a lot more credit for that because you still completed what you were obligated to do under the contract.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll keep that in mind. We hadn't run into that too many times, but it just happened once.
I've heard too many people. I used to work for the National Owner Operators Association. One of the issues that I had was that I was supposed to constantly advocate for the carrier. What bothered me was when the carrier was wrong. If the carrier is doing something that is in the wrong, I'm still supposed to defend them. It's like, look, I can't. What I can do in that situation, though, is I can help them navigate that with the broker and negotiate on their behalf with the broker to mitigate the damage.
All right.
But I can't get them out of an issue when they're guilty of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like double brokering. They actually handed me a double brokering case. The guy was guilty of double brokering, and they expected me to get him off. That ain't happening.
Crumple that up and throw it right back in their face.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's the
Great
only time that
question,
ever
though.
happened
Thank
with me, so I keep that in mind now. So it's good to know. Because I don't like being a dick, But it's like some of these brokers, they give two shits about us drivers. you know, kind of force my hand a little bit. You know, I got to fight you tooth and nail for detention or layover and all this extra shit. I shouldn't have to strong arm you to make that happen one bit.
Come on, brokers, chime in here. Talk to us. You've been in these situations.
With double brokers?
No.
Just in general.
Accessorials, you know, detention.
Oh, accessorials,
labor.
man. Well, at Rain Dogs, we're huge with tracking, man. Like, if you don't track and you don't like at least accept our tracking or have your own form of it, we like it's in our contract. We hold the right to not pay you shit if you don't work with us. I mean, obviously, we have some of our carriers that are a little bit harder to get in contact with, and they just kind of do their own thing, but like they're reliable. However, like me personally dealing with drayage big time, dude, if you don't give me any paperwork, you can kick rocks. However, you give me paperwork on time within 24 hours of it happening, whether it be detention, port congestion, waiting time, whatever it may be, like get that to me so I can talk to my customer and everything can be squashed easily. But if you wait and you play around and you're being hard to work with and you're taking time out of my day, which we know in this industry, time is money, then kick rocks, man. Like you're wasting my time, so I'm not going to pay you at your beck and call just because you say so. But
this is another thing that I talk to carriers about. You know, communication. You know, you have to be able to communicate what's going on. You have to keep regular updates going out to the brokers. And a good dispatcher should be doing that. A good dispatcher should be contacting the broker a couple hours before delivery, a couple hours before pickup, you know, and providing decent updates. So if suddenly the truck breaks down 2 miles from delivery for whatever reason, you know, you're not necessarily pissed off about it. You say, well, hey, you know what? Trucking industry, shit happens. Where if you didn't say a damn thing about it, you're going to be so damn pissed off, and then you're going to throw a freight guard on the guy because you think he's being a dick.
I mean, dude, like if you don't communicate with me, and it's like if it's a time-sensitive shipment, and you break down a mile away, and I can't get a hold of you for 5 hours, and my customer's blowing me up every 25 seconds, yeah, we got major problems. However, you know, I'm not like Home Depot or some of these much larger companies, which, you know, they go through like Manhattan Associates and whatnot. So I don't know if everything is there that they need you to do, but like, I'm not asking for updates every hour on the hour, like every 30 minutes, like, hey, what RPMs you running right now? You know, like, hey, where are you at? What truck stop did you stay at? Like, what'd you eat for a snack? No, man, I just need simple updates because this industry is so much easier with communication. Because everybody understands shit happens, but like the longer it takes you to get me my information, the shadier it looks to my customer and the shadier you look to me. And it just creates this whole mess. And like in this market, dude, in this market, when we're all pinching pennies, man, 8 to 13% margin on a good day. Like, dude, so a lot of loads I'm booking now are like $50 margins on like $2,200 loads, you know, revenue. So like, I don't want to spend all my time dealing with that. And at the same time, you're affecting my reputation in this market where everybody's looking for business. Every broker is out for fucking blood right now. And one slip up can cost you your book. So you make me lose my business. You're going to get a bad name with that shipper because they're going to ask who was under this load. And the next broker that comes in the door, and this carrier's like, oh, I can just book with these guys, whatever. Nah, that shipper's going to see who's on that MC number or who's pulling up to the door. They're going to say, get the fuck out of my face. So it's really a downhill snowball effect. Like brokers, we take a beating, but you know, we're the glue. Like carriers, shippers, whoever, man, like just talk. Just give me my information.
If I may. So I'll tell you, I've never, and let me knock on my real wood desk, not none of that fucking fiberboard crap. But I have never had.
Hey, stop knocking my desk.
Yeah, I got an expensive real wood desk. Anyway, I've been fortunate enough. I've never had a load like. Well, I hold on. I'll lie. I have had a load held hostage once, but it wasn't a double broker situation, and I called the carrier on his bluff. And that shit got handled in about an hour. We have, as far as like catching double brokers, I've only been double brokered as far as I know one time, and I caught it. And crazy enough, it was the carrier who caught it, and the guy. Well, he had been a company driver for like 3 years, but he was a owner operator only for 2 months. Dude just so happened to look at the BOL. My customer always put my name, my contact info, everything on there, and he caught it. He called us, and dude, I ended up giving him the load. The broker he booked it under booked him for $1,000 less. And it was bullshit. So it ended up being good. Like, I caught a double broker, we ran for him, and I was able to give this carrier, who I actually have used a few other times, this load, and he made $1,000 extra because I paid him what I paid the carrier I booked. You know what I mean? And anyway, we have a pretty intensive process over here. And it's developed over time. Every time we see a new trend in the double broker arena, we implement another layer. And I will tell you, it's bullshit in the sense that my team has to go through and jump through these most ridiculous hoops just to make sure that someone is who they say they are.
I mean, dude,
I've been in my company almost 3 years. When I first started here, we only had like 2 layers because that's all we needed, man. We verified a phone number because in our thing you have to submit tracking. Yes, in our rate con it says that if you don't, we can what we call RREDU, which is rate reduction. But we only put that so it scares the carrier, and because we want to track our load, like we want to know where you're at with my customers' freight. You got $70,000 worth of shit in the back of this trailer. I want to know where you're at. Anyhow, so I've been lucky on that front, but I'll talk about the instance where I did have a load held hostage. So I had a load, and man, this shit still makes me laugh because the carrier's still emailing me about the bullshit, even though the claim is over. Carrier picked up a load. It was a load of salt, and they put a ratchet strap because they had ratchet straps instead of load locks. Dude, honestly, I love straps a lot more than load locks. But when he put the strap on, the handle was digging into the bag. So he put a piece of cardboard in between the metal part and the bag. It just so happened that it was a rat trap that this guy, we don't even know where he got it, because my shipper's like, dude, we don't use these. We use the big plastic bins like everyone else uses in the industrial warehouse system. But anyway, when he got to the shipper, because it was a food grade load, he got to the receiver, and they rejected the load because of that. And there was also glass in the trailer. Point is the guy was like, I told him, I said, hey, you need to take it 200 miles and drop it off in my other customer's facility. And I want to say this, the load came from Texas and went to Tennessee. My customer originally wanted him to bring that shit all the way back to Texas, almost 1,000 miles. I said, hey man, you got the other facility in Virginia. Can we just hop over there and take it back? Because obviously the carrier was like, oh, you're going to pay me for this, blah, blah, blah. It's not my fault. I'm like, dude, no fucking shipper is going to put a rat trap in the trailer. Like, no one is stupid. Like, give me a break here. Anyway, he tried saying, oh, well, I'm not going to do it. You're going to pay me X amount of dollars. You know, my reply was, that's fine. Good luck getting rid of 44,000 pounds of fucking salt. Sit there for a week. I don't give a shit. I'm going to file a claim regardless. You have fun with it, buddy. And less than an hour later, he said, we're going to take you to Virginia. Yeah, I know you are, because you have nowhere to get rid of 44,000 pounds of fucking salt. So that was the only instance I've ever had with that. My boss has actually had a load stolen from a double broker. Good enough, though, lucky enough. He has a lot of connections. He's very tech savvy. Somehow he got in touch with the carrier, and the carrier said, oh, well, I dropped it off here, gave him the exact address and everything. Dude, he called the cops, made a theft report. The shipper called the police department, theft report, and the police department, everything except the SWAT team went to this warehouse in this location and found our trailer along with a couple of other trailer loads of freight This one didn't make the news, but from what I gather, it was a substantial amount of stolen freight that was sitting in this these people's rented warehouse, man. So it's a horrible thing out there. And I'll say if you're an actual carrier and you want to hold the load hostage, be very, very careful, because when it comes down to that stuff, it is a very fine line in between what makes you in the right and what makes me and my shipper in the right. And you can guarantee that if we're in the right, I'm going to file a claim. I'm going to make reports on you. I'm going to do everything, and you're going to have a heck of a time. Now, if it is a situation where I'm a piece of shit broker and, you know, I sent you to the wrong place and the other place is 100 miles away and you want $500 and I'm telling you screw off, like, I wouldn't say that's different, but I will work with you and understand that. So, yeah, that load being held hostage stuff is a serious thing. Most of these double brokers get away with it because, John, you said it earlier, they all live overseas. They're in Armenia, in Russia, in Ukraine. Like, they don't give a shit. Like, you're not going to catch them. They're not, you know what I mean? So it's a really crazy deal out there. And we got to even this load of salt that I had, it was worth $50-something thousand. Had that been a situation where it was a double broker, would it have been hard to get rid of a lot of food grade salt that was going to a food manufacturing company? Yeah, probably. But they probably still could have made 10, 15, 20 grand off of it on the black market or something by selling it. You know what I mean? So it's an extremely lucrative scam. And I can see why people do it. And it really does suck because it also, and I know I'm carrying on here, but it also, John, it gets blamed on real carriers because these double brokers, they book under a real MC, they steal the load, and you know who's on the line for it? Not the double broker, the fucking carrier. You know what I mean? And they've done everything legal. You know, they got a rate card from a double broker that looks good. It says go to this place. They do their job, and the stuff falls back on them. So
we see that stuff all the time. Amazon is famous for this kind of thing. They get scammed against all the time. I just finished a case this week that's 4 months old. Carrier goes and picks up a trailer for what they believe was a respectable broker. It turned out to pick up at an NFI joint, which happens to be a third-party logistics site for Amazon. Okay, so they pick up the trailer and they start making their way towards California with it. Okay, that's all well and good. Once they get down towards Phoenix, while she was on her 10-hour stop, she was looking over the paperwork and realized, hey, wait a minute. Varstar Alliance is varstaralliance.com for an email address. This one says varstaralliancellc.net. Otherwise, it's perfectly formatted for Varstar Alliance's rate confirmations. So these guys have gotten so sophisticated, but because we had no idea who it belonged to, at all, she went and she put the trailer into storage. And the next day, we realized it was most likely Amazon. We reached out to Amazon. I got involved a few days later. I hit every Amazon contact I had. It took 3 months for them to reach out. 3 months. And we're still holding this cargo. $50 a day. Okay? And Amazon goes to try to strike a deal with us, paying us for 1/3 of the line haul and 1/3 of the storage cost. That's all they wanted to pay. Insanity. Absolute insanity. The carrier is losing thousands on this. You know, so these situations are absolutely horrible for everyone involved. And these scammers know it. They know they are destroying this industry with what they're trying to pull. Now, we've had a very big success story back in November where a carrier came to me and said, hey, my MC's been stolen. I went to all my social media outlets and I went and I put his MC number out there and said, hey, brokers, if you book with this guy under this MC, please understand it may be a scam. A broker calls me about an hour later and says, hey, I booked with that MC 2 days ago. We can't find our cargo. So he and I got together. We started sorting it out. It was a load of copper coming out of Indiana, going to North Carolina. We found it in Southern California. We got a hold of the driver. Driver gave us the address where they dropped it at. And like Pedro was saying, we sent the cops out. Cops were there 30 minutes later with everything in the kitchen sink. The cargo was already gone. The cargo had only been there 45 minutes at that point. Cargo was already gone.
Yeah, it worked fast, man.
You got security across the street. They found the truck that it got loaded onto and got a hold of that carrier. And the carrier's like, hey, I got paid cash to go take this over to a scrapyard 40 miles away. So now the police go over to the scrapyard 40 miles away. We found all 48,000 pounds of copper sitting in Gaylords at that scrapyard in Southern California. We recovered every single pound. Okay, 300 grand value. And the owner was so freaking happy. They paid the carrier who drove it all the way out to California. And they paid him to go back to the scrapyard to get the cargo, and paid him all the way back across the country at $4 a mile all the way around.
Good for that.
Hell yeah. That's
Okay.
good shit, John.
You know, huge positive story. But it requires people to pay attention to what's going on and communicate when things happen. You know, this stuff is so bad. You know, Peter, you were talking about these guys who hold cargo hostage. You know, shameless plug. If you're thinking you need to hold cargo hostage, call me. Please call me. Let me help educate you as to when you can and when you can't. And if you can't, but you need the help, please, I can help guide you on how to discuss this with a broker so that you can get something for it. You may not get everything you want, but you'll get something. You know, it's same thing if you get screwed over by a double broker. You know, most carriers don't know they have 18 months to file a claim with the real broker when they haven't been paid, when they got screwed over by a scammer. 18 months. They can come back to a real broker and say, hey, I actually hauled the load. And as long as that documentation exists, proving that they have it, i.e. the pen and ink BOL, the one that actually has the ink on it, not a scan, not a photocopy, but the actual ink. In a court of law, they're the final mile carrier. Therefore, they are required to be paid. And that puts you brokers, unfortunately, in a double pay liability situation.
Yes, it does. Kelly,
You know?
I want to answer your question right here. Well, I can answer it. John can answer it. Hunter, or yeah. I don't understand how loads just get lost. Is there a way to track cargo 24/7? Yes. Okay. So here's the deal, Kelly. Yes, there is a way to track it 24/7. A majority of brokers use things like Macro Point, Trucker Tools. There are tracking apps. Here's the fucking thing. They go to a cell phone and are tracked via cell phone through an app. All the driver has to do is hit a button in the app that says stop tracking, and that's the end of it. Also, you could easily, most brokers don't check phone numbers, and so they could get a fake phone number like, with some random cell phone or a VoIP, which is a voice over internet proxy, something like Ring Central or Grasshopper, that kind of stuff. They send a link to it, and that phone may move, it may or may not. So to answer your question, it is actually very easy. It really, really is. Even if someone sends you a Samsara link, which Samsara is something that has to do with ELDs, and it's a link directly attached to an ELD in a truck, which some ELDs are satellite, some are cell phone signals. So it honestly, here's the way it is. It's a loophole in technology that they've caught. That's the real issue. Even though the technology for tracking is badass, it's a loophole that's found in it because a majority of it is cell phone. The only way to get around it is if you do business with someone like our homie Matt Clark, where they put actual GPS trackers inside the freight. Yep. So anywhere, because this is the thing, all that cell phone stuff at ELD, it just tracks the truck. Well, who gives a shit? They could drop the trailer everywhere, and the truck's gone.
How did trailer get put on rail? Wonder why it's taken 7 days to get from Los Angeles to Chicago. It's like, buddy, Your truck's been stuck for 7 days. Is everything okay? Oh yeah, buddy. Trucker blew a tire. All right, cool, man. Be up and running soon. Oh yeah, dude. 7 days later, and you can't do anything about it. It's stuck. It's there. But yeah, Samsara. I mean, dude, we use Macro Point. I've got a carrier on Samsara right now, but who's to say? Like, unless you send me that paperwork.
Washington. Who would want to do that?
You know, I appreciate Kelly's comment there about going to Washington. Okay, that's what OIDA's for. That's what NOAA's for. You know, they can go to Washington. They can talk about all these things all the live long day. You know, the fact of the matter is that as long as FMCSA is being managed by politicians and not by logistics professionals, you're not going to see real change. Okay, the people in Congress who give FMCSA their orders, the transportation subcommittees, you know, they are controlled by people whose campaigns have been bought and paid for by TIA. So unless TIA wants something to change,
tell her what TIA is, John. She's honestly not in our industry. She is just kind of over on our side. So what is TIA? Tell her the acronym.
So TIA, the Transportation Intermediary Association, it is an association of brokers. And they control 5 different PACs, and these PACs are what fund the campaigns of the legislators that are on the Transportation Committee. And depending on the brokers who are part of TIA, their fee for being in TIA depends upon what their annual gross is in terms of revenue. So a big boy like TQL probably pays the most money to TIA in membership fees every year. Which is why if TIA wants something, or if a TQL wants something, they say something to TIA. TIA's president and vice president both are career lobbyists, not transportation professionals. So they then go to FMCSA and to the people in Congress and say, this is what we want, which is why what TIA wants, TIA usually gets. So when all the carrier organizations go and visit FMCSA and say, we want enforcement of the broker transparency law. That's the 49 CFR 371.3 that a lot of carriers are griping about these days. We want enforcement of that law. Then TIA comes in the next day and says, no, that's part of the Motor Carrier Act of 1980. It's an outdated law. Just eliminate the law. And then FMCSA decides, well, instead of ruling on it here at the end of October of this year, we're going to kick it down the road and rule on it in October next year. Man, it's all politics. It is all politics. And that's the big problem in this industry. You know, I've actually heard a lot.
Sorry, John. Finish that. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I thought you were done. Finish that sentence.
I'm actually finished about the TIA thing. What I was going to say is one of the things that I always thought was best in trying to fix this industry was to stop issuing freaking authorities. Mm-hmm. You know, I would love to see FMCSA
credit checks and shit.
But here's the problem. It's the Motor Carrier Act of 1980 again. The Motor Carrier Act of 1980 guarantees that anyone who is willing and able to participate in the transportation industry, either as a carrier or a broker, as long as they check the boxes, they are guaranteed the ability to obtain an authority.
Hunter and I just talked about this. Hunter and I just talked about this yesterday or the other day when I was out on my walk. And actually, I think maybe it was Ryan and I don't know. Hunter, tell me if it was you and I, because I talk to random people when I'm walking. But, dude, it takes like $3,000 to get an MC. $3,000, and you could possibly steal millions of fucking dollars of freight. $3,000. That's it.
How do you think double brokers got into this business to begin with? How do you think they got in?
Yeah, so I'm saying it's like you said, it's too easy. Just check a couple boxes, fill out some forms, send your money, and you know what? That's the problem. Is our government? Every government is ran by money, and they don't give a shit who you are as long as you pay your little stupid $300 fee to get your MC number and your little $300 fee to get your LLC or whatever it is. That's all it is, money thing. So here's the thing: the government has zero incentive to deal with this because they're making money. That's what it is. They're making hundreds of millions, if not close to billions of dollars in filing fees for people to open up carrier MCs. And until we take that, and I'm not actually not a lie, I am anti-government. Until we take that away from the government, our government's crap. I won't get into it, but if you're an American citizen, you think our government is worth the shit, something's wrong with you and you ain't paying attention. Until we take that ability away from them to make money, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna quote Ronald Reagan, there is nothing the government can do that the private industry can't and won't do better. So what we need to do is privatize in some way part of the process to get an MC authority, or we can keep it through the government, but we hire consultants and contractors like John, who when they apply for the I'm serious, John, I'm saying that I think this, you will agree with me when I'm done with this. We hire people like John, who when you apply for an authority, that shit gets sent to John, and John or the Bannon report, Claudia, all these fraud fighters that we know run through all this stuff. They call every single number. They do credit. I couldn't say credit checks because anyway, but they do everything that they can do to verify that you're a real person. And things like having an MC based out of a virtual office where there's 10 double brokers registered, automatic decline. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that is, and I just thought about this. So look at that. That's how great the lounge is. We just come up with solutions here. But I really do, like, we have to implement people like you, John, and other folks in the industry that have an understanding of how the fraud and the scam works. Because, you know, when you apply for stuff, all they're looking at is a computer screen. Oh, well, they filled out every box. Like, they don't check Google for the address. You know what I mean? None of that stuff. You know what I mean? They could give a completely fake address that pings in the middle of the freaking Pacific Ocean. You know,
I mean, there's probably only 5 people at FMCSA that put that little check mark, give this guy an authority. There's probably only 5 people there that actually do that. Okay, but you know, I think the very first time I was on a show with you guys, you quoted to me that particular week there were 2,500 new carrier authorities issued that 1 week alone. And I've been tracking that since, and it's been over 2,000 a week.
Dude, it's insane.
New carrier authorities a week. How many of those are actually valid people?
I mean,
how many?
John, you know who Massive 3PL Corporation is, right?
No.
Oh, dude, give me 1 second. I'm about to give you a rabbit hole of a lifetime.
While you look that up, whoever this is, I don't know whose channel you're on.
Hey, I'll chime into that though, because there's an easy solution.
Go ahead, because I was about to.
Oh yeah, so with the tracking, I mean, yeah, if you get in a spot, and we have that happen all the time with Macro Point, like you get to a point where you don't have service. Well, if you're getting fined for that, I don't know what to say, but like most of the time, if it's longer than like an hour or two, I mean, I'm going to pick up the phone call dispatch, make sure everything's good to go. Or like if you are worried about it, I mean, it, once again, comes down to communication. If you realize that your tracking goes out for a little bit and there's nothing you can really do about it, then make sure that you do when you see, hey, tracking's back on. I mean, that's.
I tell my carriers every time they stop for fuel, and most of my carriers are box truck guys, so they stop for fuel regularly. Every time you stop for fuel, double check your macro point, make sure it's still running.
Well,
yeah,
I'll touch on this as well as a broker, and I'm going to use the example of JB and Darting Uphill, all the other drivers that we have on our show, and me as a driver. Dude, there are places in this country where, dude, there is nothing. No cell phone signal. Like, dude, you better smoke signal some shit if you break down, because that's the only way you're going to get someone's attention. With us, I'm serious, JB. You know I'm right. You know I'm right, bro. You get them. Sean, you do too. You get some of these mountains, dude. Some of these mountain passes, the Rockies, the damn it, that's the only one I can name right now. I don't know why.
The Appalachians.
Yes.
Appalachian.
Hey, yes. Hey, the from Asheville, North Carolina, or from the Appalachians over there, when you're going towards Asheville, bro, there is no signal. Zero, zip, zilch, nada. With us, this is how we do it. We do macro point checks. I don't know, every few hours. If you accept my tracking, my team will bother you twice a day. Call you in the morning and they'll call you in the afternoon. And then all we're going to do is check macro point updates because that's who we use. Now, if we go to check a macro point and it doesn't show up, we do just like John said, or Hunter said, John said, whichever one of you. And we call dispatch. We try to call you. And this is the part that we start getting concerned is if you're going to somewhere and you're supposed to be there at noon and you missed that appointment, I haven't been able to get in touch with you, then red flags start popping. But if you're traveling along and the appointment is until 5 o'clock and it's around 12, 1 o'clock, I can't get in touch with you for 2 hours, macro point's not updating. As long as when you arrive at the shipper or slightly or before, if I can get in touch with you or your dispatch and verify things are good, dude, we're fine. Because I understand how cell phones work. I know some people don't, but tracking is done via cell phone. So 0 cell phone signal, 0 tracking signal. And that's the issue. We do not fine for the stuff going out. We don't. I will give you, we will rate reduce, and I think it's like $100, which is fairly standard if you don't do tracking. And that's it. You know, now if you miss an appointment and all that stuff, it's a whole bunch of different stuff, depends on the customers. But when it comes to tracking, that's it. I only fine you $100 if you don't accept it. Pretty much every broker will do that. If your shit goes out, it is what it is. I'm not going to freak out as long as I can get in touch with you within a matter of a few hours.
Yeah, Rob, I don't mean to interrupt here, but
no,
guys, we have been on for a while. I'm going to go ahead and I need to pack it off, okay? But I would like to just real quick plug, Monday evening, 5 p.m. Central Time, come check out the Double Broker Bounty Hunters Stop the Scam podcast, available on my YouTube channel. That is at Double Broker Bounty Hunters. Check me out. Love to see you all there. In the meantime, y'all have yourselves a great weekend. Okay. Thanks for having me on. It's been a great show.
Thanks,
y'all.
Sean.
Take care.
Have a good one. JB, before we wrap it up, man, this has been a rare situation. You haven't got to talk a lot. JB, you want to chime in on any of this that you've heard, brother?
Yeah. So I'm sitting here listening. I agree a little bit with what you guys are saying. I'm curious though, because what does, I don't know if you have your own broker MC or the company what does, but I'd be curious as to what the process was like setting up a broker authority and what you actually had to do. Was it all done online? Easy. So
it's easy as
because
shit.
Like I'm gonna give an example. For Motor Carrier Authority, I had to go down to the DMV in person, bring all my documentation, all my paperwork. Yeah, I got the authority, but I still had to go down there in person to get everything else. What vehicle am I registering? All this other stuff. And to get my carrier authority, 100% fully set up. So I'm curious on the broker end, did you have to do anything like that?
I mean, just like everybody's saying, it is easy as going online and registering. You just got to have that money. Give that FMCSA that money. Yeah, that's all they care about. You got an address. There could be 100 different people in one little building. A closet, dude. I watched the whole documentary on this where people offshore will literally buy a room that is like 1 by 1, and that is their address. And nobody checks it out. But Rob, dude, when it was a few months ago, Rob showed me one address where it was like, like 1,000 different companies in there.
Yeah,
and dude, they're all, dude, none of them were even in English. It was all like Russian and like crazy shit. But like that's one thing you can find out, man. Like as a broker, like you go and check these addresses of like a carrier that they've had their authority for active authority for 2 years or so. They got one truck and they might only have like 3 inspections, but no blemishes on there. And a lot of people will see that and just be like, okay, whatever. This guy might have just taken a break or something. I don't know. But you look up their address and you check into it. It's insane. But that massive 3PL corporation I was talking about, dude, they're based out of, where is it? Edinburgh, Texas. And you look up their address and it is some broke down like old gas station or something, and they owned over 5,000 MC numbers back during COVID times, and they were all based out of Glendale, California. They'd have one truck under their authority. They'd call you, and dude, it was goofy. It was really like comical. I've told this story before, but there was one double brokerage that all of their names were WWE wrestlers.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
That's fucking awesome.
Dude, yeah, man. Like when
That's
people
great.
talk about it, like, dude, if I see a Ray John coming across my fucking email, if I call
It's
you, and
John
you don't have
Cena.
if you don't have, dude, I'm saying, like, yeah, if you don't have like the heaviest Southern accent with a name like Ray John coming across, we're not doing business. But it's easy to get it, man. Everything's online now. Like
I said, I'll tell you the funniest address that I ever had for an MC was a storage unit. I swear to God, it was a fucking U-Haul storage place. Rented a storage, I swear to God, dude, a fucking U-Haul storage place. Here's the second thing, talking about the Ray John. I have this rule in my group, and I've said this before. I don't know why everyone else in the world thinks that fucking Americans have
we're all John Wayne.
It's the stupidest shit. Like, it's the dumbest fucking thing. Like, y'all are so intelligent and everything else, but for some reason you're so fucking retarded on that. But when that stuff comes through, I have a rule with my people. You have 2 first names, your ass is getting double, triple, and quadruple checked, because that is a flashing red sign to me.
That's what I'm saying, dude. If your name's like Chastity Grace or something like that, I'm calling you. You better sound like you're straight out of trailer parks.
I don't mean to sound hateful. But if you call our company and you have an accent from overseas and you tell me your fucking name is Richard, bro, huge red flag. Bullshit. Your name does not translate to Richard in English. I promise you that. That's another thing with me, man.
But there's nothing wrong with just tell me your real name, and if you got a shorter version of that name, then that's cool. Like, but yeah, don't tell me your name's Bob. I have talked to so many Bobs that I don't even think they know what Bob is, man. Like,
hey, as a Robert, I take offense to that. Actually, hey Jason, I'll say before you chime in, I'll say, dude, it is extremely easy. I don't know why Ryan's stuff never shows up, but this is our boy Ryan Van Brocklin. Awesome, stellar guy. Go follow him. But like he said, dude, you can do it all online, just like a carrier. And it is honestly slightly easier to get a broker authority than it is a carrier authority. Dude, you don't even have to have insurance. You have to have an address. You pay the stupid ass fee. You show them your bond info. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Done. That's it. Done.
Yeah. I feel like on the brokerage side, maybe there needs to be some sort of like higher fee or more due diligence by the FMCSA.
I agree. I can agree.
On the carrier side, I feel like there needs to be maybe not necessarily the same thing, but like this whole selling MC numbers to people, I think is where the real scam comes into play. Where if you're going to try to do something like that, or if your MC changes hands, then it should be law that you have to report that to the FMCSA that it's changing hands or something along that nature.
Well, they do. I mean, they do, and you can see when it changes over. I had one today. This carrier had authority active for like 15-something years, and they had one freight guard report, and the only thing it said was like failure of payment. But you go and look at their active authority, and so I don't know what happened, but it had only been active since like December 2023. Like,
or
I don't know how that works though. Like, you think if you buy an MC number, man, all that history should be depleted. Like, I don't
100%.
Or like, because our MC number is 036699, and like that's just how it's been. When Rain Dog started up, they started their trucking, they started their brokerage, they just held on to it, and it's there. But like, you can see that we've only been active for like 3-6 years, something like that. I don't know, but it's crazy. It's crazy because like,
I think
some of these bigger corporations, man, like our LQT, they don't have 411, dude. They just have a carrier relations team that, you get a carrier calling in and say, hey, I'm not set up with you guys. I send you a link to set up. easy peasy, pumpkin peasy. You say you're gonna pick that shit up, and dude, I can't tell you how. Dude, I don't know how they make money because I had at least 5 fallouts a day, and there's nothing you can get around it. All they have is black flags.
Right.
But you know.
How much
But the
time do you guys have?
the FMCSA, and this will be my last thing about it, but the FMCSA is getting paid to do this. I'm getting paid to do my job. I should not have to go and take out at least 2 hours of my day, if not more, to double, triple check, make sure that these people are set up, make sure they're legitimate, and, you know, still have to worry, is my shit going to get taken care of? Is my freight going to get picked up? Is this driver legitimate? Am I dealing with some scumbags, which... Who knows? But I mean, dude, I really do think if you're doing business and operating business within the United States, unless you're like some dude that has $1 million in his pocket, and he's like, I'm gonna go and fucking kick it in Istanbul for 3 years, you should have to go down to the DMV or wherever and fucking legitimize that shit. Like,
100%.
you should have to go through these processes because it sucks. Like, and I don't know how they do it on your side, man. Like. I guess
I hate
mean,
going to the DMV. So,
fuck, man, who doesn't? They need some pinball machines in there or something. Give me something to do. A little popcorn machine. But
something like that. How much time do y'all have? I wanted to touch on one last thing.
No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead. I think we got a few minutes left.
You got like Lane Runner and all these other companies that are like sucking in more information because we got the scamming and the fraud stuff going on. But my question is, real quick, have you gotten back into your Facebook?
No, it's gone,
Okay.
bro. It's completely gone. Like everything that I've done over the past 16 years, Hunter can tell you, he's searched. It is gone. Everything.
Gone.
So
all of it.
So that kind of stuff like that is in Facebook's a little bit different. Social media is a little bit different. My concern with like a lot of like all these companies, they're great ideas. I love them. I think they'll be useful. But having to give up all this information to then constantly be scrutinized more and more. What happens when something like what happened with you in Facebook happens to a motor carrier? You know what I'm saying? Like there are ways to prove who you are, but then those people become the gatekeepers to me making money.
Yeah.
And you know, the small little blemish or the small little inaccuracy or whatever prevents you from making money, the more and more information that we keep giving these people. And then on top of that, we're living in an information age where information is money. Is our information protected with these people? Is the security top notch to where they're not selling our information to other people? Because just like that one company where it's like they're tracking you through DriveWise, you're tracking your VIN numbers, and then, you know, those driver's license numbers, and so on and so on and so on. Like, what about security with that? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, dude, well, I'll say this much. So, like, last night, we're talking to King Spud, and we're talking about his sunglasses. Well, I look up Cletus sunglasses. And on this browser, on my computer that's not connected to my Instagram, Facebook, nothing like that. Well, I get on my phone later on the night, and I'm scrolling through my feed. What do I see? Cletus. But you know the crazy thing, man, anything you sign up for now, what do you have to do? You have to scroll through this long-ass contract. You have to click, I accept all these terms. And, dude, anytime you do that, and, like, bro, like, you go on a website, and it asks for cookies and all this other shit, I just started clicking deny because when you say I accept all this, that is you saying I give you full permission to go through and sell my data. It's
100%.
everywhere. It's everywhere. But on the carrier side of things, I've not personally heard of any stories of someone like truly compromising a business from the inside out. But to the fullest extent that I have seen is just people going online. I don't know how they go through it, but they'll get an MC number like Grasshopper's one of them. I called them last week. Fucking just go and say, hey, these guys have like 200 something trucks. They got a good MC number. I'm going to make an email that's Julius.grasshoppertransportation@gmail.com, post their MC number on there and see what works. Because I asked them, like, you know, they gave me a good rate and I looked up their MC number, everything's good. And then I go check their email and I'm like, hey man, your email doesn't match up. Where should I send this carrier packet to? And he's like, oh, just send it over to me. And I'm like, nah, we can't do that. I asked again. I was like, I use my carrier packet. Who should I send it to? And they said they gave me another email, and it was one number off, like some insane. And dude, some people will do that, man. These smaller brokerages will do that because they don't have either they don't have that, extra layer of screening, or they just don't fucking care because a lot of people are lazy and they just feed the fire.
So I want to say, dude, I cannot believe I'm lagging so much. Like, that is aggravating. I'm sitting here watching the live stream on LinkedIn, and dude, right in front of me, it is picture perfect, clear.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Do you want to hop out and hop back in real quick?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Let me see if that fixes it.
Okay. JB, where are you rolling through right now, brother?
I'm getting close to Kentucky.
Oh, dude, you gotta let me know when you get through Nashville sometime, man.
I pass through there quite a bit, but usually I go to Lebanon.
Dude, Lebanon, I live it's Lebanon, first of all, but yeah, I live like 30 minutes from Lebanon.
Okay. Yeah, there's a drop yard there. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, so I just want to point this out that I am trying to do my small part on this selling of MC numbers in the Facebook groups that the Facebook group I run, and the others that I have admin moderator access to. And I get some people that I think are really legitimate. But I tell them, hey, no, no selling MCs, no buying MCs. Dude, I get 1, 2, 3, or 4 posts a day in my group about selling or buying an MC. I reject every single one of them. I don't give a shit if I look the MC up and it's been in business for 10 years, because to me, that MC could possibly be bought or sold to a scammer. And then in my mind, I am the one that allowed that to happen.
But dude, let's talk here. Who with a legitimate MC number is really going to go to a fucking Facebook group
That's
to
true too,
find a
right?
buyer? If anything, you scroll through on your personal profile and do it on your own time, because that's a huge red flag. You're just posting it out to the masses. Like you said, man, there's going to be somebody that's like, oh, I've been wanting to buy an MC number, but they're so expensive. But this guy's got a great deal. What happens? You fucking drop them $10,000. Gone.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right, bro. You're right. And honestly, I have there's a lot of things that I've learned through people that I'm connected with, like John, like the buying and selling MC numbers, the whole Amazon relay bullshit. I don't allow that in my fucking group either. Kick rocks with that crap. Dude, if you post in any group that I run and I'm a moderator admin in, I don't take vague posts. I also don't do the ones hiring owner operators 90%. I don't give a shit if you list your MC number or not. No real professional company would do a post with a blue background and some fucking text. They're going to list their website, their MC number. They're going to have a visual graphic. They're going to do all kinds of things. And I know this sounds like I'm giving information away, but it is. It's the truth. Like, dude, there's a lot of red flags, and people that know. And I want to say this again. Hunter and I love giving this plug. If you're not on LinkedIn, you need to fucking be on LinkedIn. If you're a carrier, if you're a broker, and you are not operating in the logistics space on LinkedIn, you are doing yourself a disservice. Hunter and I said this earlier to John, we have several group DMs with tons of people several people from the insurance industry, people from the fraud side, people from the carrier side, the broker side, and all these DMs are mainly about is posting MC numbers and talking about scam, fraud, ways to get around it. And I say that because LinkedIn is where the good information is, man. It is. It's where you meet the professionals that want to help you. And I'll tell you, if you're a scammer and you think you're going to slide in on LinkedIn into someone DMs, very unlikely it's going to happen. People on there that are serious about this, they do their research. They look into you. And I'm telling you, if you mess around on LinkedIn, you will get blasted. Facebook, yay, hippie whippy do. Nobody does anything. But I'm telling you, on where we're at, if you really want to play the game, you want some knowledge, you want to step your game up, you want to help fight fraud, you want to bring in more revenue, anything that you want to do to grow your business, that is where you need to be. Kick Facebook to the fucking side.
I'm saying, dude, fuck those posted loads, man. Get on there and get in contact with some heavy hitters, because if you're the real deal, you will get business fast.
That guy Jeff Dickinson that was on earlier, that dude literally built the Ford Motor Company's 4PL in the late 90s and 2000s. You would not know that from him being on our show. The coolest, chillest, most laid back guy. And he worked for the biggest automotive maker in the freaking country.
Yep.
I mean, dude, there you go. And Hunter and I just fell into chilling with, like, that's what I'm saying.
Well, he fucking cares, man. And if John can, or if Jeff can do something for you, he'll find somebody that can. Like, the love gets shared on the LI space, man. It's real. It's real.
And X, Hunter has turned me on to their carriers. If you're not on X, particularly in the freight X side of things, there are a ton of carriers out there that are doing some serious business. That are helping people. Shout out to King Spud, Taylor Built, Tex Crowley. Even though you're not a carrier, we know you're in the space. People
Darting
like,
uphill,
dude. Yes, thank you. Darting uphill, like
Indy Trucker.
Yes, there are a ton of people that are out there. Away from
just go hashtag Freight X, and you will find all these cats.
Get away from Facebook, man. And scammers, again, you may be hearing this and you think you're going to go over there. I'm telling you, Facebook lets you act stupid. On these other spaces,
if you're watching,
it is not that easy. It isn't. These are people that are serious about this business. There are very large groups of individuals that are watching and sharing information, and not that we're going to put a stop to it, but we are all doing our part to limit your access and the availability for you to fuck us and fuck everybody.
Yeah, actually, scammers welcome.
Yeah,
come on over. Come on.
Let us put you on blast. Yes, please. Hey, let us highlight you on our almost 1,200 follower LinkedIn page. Let us put you over to some people that have like 20,000 followers. Like, yes,
a buddy
please,
named Jason Raybon that would love to have a conversation with you. Give you some great advice.
Hey, we actually know. We could get Mark Wahlberg to give you a call if you want. Hunter, you know what I mean. Wait,
come to the celebrity corner, man.
Even Mark Wahlberg's in on the double broker thing. If you don't catch the joke, dude, you got to go back and watch our show with Joe Daniel, and you'll understand the what we mean by that. He said, "Oh man,
that was the dude that was in the movie industry that was doing like all the voices and stuff, right?"
Yes, dude.
I remember watching that.
Damn, he's best friends with Mark Wahlberg, man. He'll get you on the phone with him in a second.
Bro, could you imagine?
He didn't like my Louis C.K. comment on the Mount Rushmore of comedians.
Could you imagine if you're a double broker and you get a call and you pick it up and it's Mark Wahlberg talking to you?
We gotta get Joe back on here, man.
Oh my god! All right, we are closing in on the 3-hour mark. I want to go eat some dinner. Hunter, I know you got stuff with your family. JB, we know you ain't doing shit but driving. No, I'm playing.
Night riding.
I know.
JB's just dodged me, man. He just drove straight through Nashville. Didn't even stop to say hello.
Oh, no. I'm on, whatchamacallit, 64. I didn't even touch Nashville.
You're on 65?
Or 65, whichever it is.
Oh.
No, 64. Yeah, 64 runs straight across.
Yeah, that's right. Duh. East, west, north, south. I'm a fucking idiot.
Straight across.
I don't know about all that now. I just know 40 and 65 and 24.
Well, I'll teach you something. All right.
Tell them.
I know.
I'm gonna tell the whole crowd, because there's more to it than you think. When it is an even number, I-70, I-40, they go east to west. If it is an odd number, 65, 35, whatever, it goes north to south. if you get into a major metropolis and you say you go to Atlanta. I can't remember what the loop is. It's what's the loop around Atlanta, JB?
I try to forget about Atlanta every chance I
The
get.
loop. There's 85 and 75.
No, loop. All right, I'll use
like-
I'll use
There's
DFW's
20,
example.
440.
All right, there you go. If you get on a loop in a major city, if it is an even number, say it's 0 or 2 or 4, whatever, that goes around the city. If the first number is even, if the first number is odd, 475. Thank you, Ryan. I'm pretty sure that's Ryan. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
If the first number is odd, a 1, a 3, a 5, that goes directly in to the heart of the city. I guarantee you, JB, I bet you can agree with this. Most fucking carriers out there do not even know that.
A lot of them don't.
All right, JB, do you have any exiting comments, any plugs, any of that stuff before we chop out this piece?
Man, to all the carriers out there, build yourselves up, make yourself profitable, make yourself money, and just like the gentleman was saying earlier, you can use that power and that money that you save up to lobby your congressman to do.
You cut out, bro, but I know you
Oh,
were
shit, I
talking
cut
about
out.
lobby. Yeah, you did cut out. You want to repeat it, JB? You're more than welcome.
Build yourselves up, as carriers. That way you can build your bankroll up, and then you can use that money as power to lobby people in Congress and help them fight the fight for us. But you have to build yourself up first and get that money out there to lobby your congressman. So keep the shiny side up.
JB, just so you know, on your LinkedIn, a gentleman named Ryan Van Brockland, he's going to friend you on there. Super cool guy. He is a broker. Just a really, really great dude. Hunter can second that, man. Really nice guy. And
He stinks, man. I don't like Ryan.
he's so full of shit. Anyway, Hunter, you got anything you want to say before we do our exiting sponsor break?
Yeah, y'all go check out Medium Sized Dogs. Be sure to watch the episode if you have not. Shit. Thanks y'all for being here. Once again, we are bringing down the bad guys, or at least trying. So, appreciate everybody watching. The page is growing as always. Be sure to go follow us on YouTube at The Logistics Lounge. Find us on X at Logistics Lounge. And we'll see y'all next week. Be sure to catch us on Monday with Jeff Dickinson on the Storytelling Chronicles. We will be laying it down.
Faux cheesy. Majority of this show has been focused on, or I say the later half of the show has been focused on fraud and scam. I would tell you the one thing that you don't have to worry about getting scammed or dealing with fraud is if you do business with Shoreline Capital. We're talking about people that have come from the banking industry, 2 decades, family owned. You need to get in contact with somebody at 3:00 in the morning. You can do that because they are family owned, family operated, and they understand as a small business what it is to be a small business owner. And their objective and their goal is to help you grow. Make sure that when you go and sign up on ShorelineCapital.com, you use reference code LOUNGE365. You will get your first invoice up to $2,500 factored for free. And JB talked about all you carriers out there making money. a minute ago, and you know how to do that, keep your money flowing right. And if you want to keep your money flowing right, you have to have access to real-time accurate data when it comes to your freight rates. And if you are not signed up with Lane Runner, you need to go to that website down there at the bottom. You see, use that code first month free upon sign up, and it's obvious in the code. You get your first month free. So I don't know why you're waiting and sitting here listening to me yip yap. Go run on over to lanerunner.com, get that sign up.
Welcome to the future of trucking with Lane Runner. Up to the minute, trustworthy spot market freight rates. Experience real time, full truckload spot market rates at your fingertips. Stay ahead with our advanced rate alert system, ensuring you never miss a market move. Gain insights with our detailed high and low paying lane reports. Make informed decisions with comprehensive market reports tailored for your business needs. Lane Runner, accurate, real-time spot market freight rates at your fingertips. Efficiency, reliability, and profitability all in one platform. Join Lane Runner today and take your logistics to the next level. Spot market, spot on.
Damn Skippy, spot market, spot on. I also want to say right now, they have a deal. They have 100 lifetime memberships on sale right now for $12.79. Go over there, use that code you see there at the bottom, get that first month free. You'll learn how badass their system is. And then you're going to want to sign up and get that lifetime membership for the low cost of $1,279. Before we end, I want to repeat what Hunter says. Next Monday, this coming up Monday, February 5th, we will not be live on the lounge, but we will be live on Jeff Dickinson, the Bodacious Cadillac Cowboy page. We will drop some links. Make sure that you please tune in. Next Wednesday, we have the man, the myth, the man, Ryan Von Brocklin. I'm joking, Ryan. You know we love you, brother. We have Ryan on next Wednesday. Next Thursday, we have one of the most incredible women in trucking, Miss Ingrid Brown. She is going to come in, drop some bombs. I really hope she shows some of her photography. She is an excellent photographer. And then next Friday, we have Janelle, who is going to talk about money, and how you as a business owner need to learn how to control your expenses and pay yourself first. With that, as we always say, chunk the deuces. Mr. Hound, roll that beautiful bean footage.